What's up, everyone? We are here. This is the ultimate high school roadmap from freshman year to graduation. This is going to be a very different call, different training, different session than some you've probably seen us do before. So we purposely called it a workshop rather than a training, rather than a webinar, a presentation, lecture, right? It's a workshop, meaning it's going to be interactive. So we have lots of amazing families who are here with us live. They're going to be helping us craft this. So basically what this is going to be is there over the next 4 hours, maybe less, right? But 4 hours, our goal is to break down exactly if we were to completely engineer, wink, wink, nod, nod, right? Engineer a perfect pathway from a freshman starting high school all the way to a senior's graduation. What should that roadmap look like in various aspects that we're going to go in today, right? That's your little teaser. I'm going to throw it off to Coach Art to help us get started.
Hey guys, how you doing? Coach Art here. I just again so excited about this. I think Tony, we did one of these before where we did just kind of a casual editing of I think essays, and it went so well that we thought, hey, you know what? We might as well start with a different one, and I think it's going to be great. I know, hopefully, Coach Tony knows that I love the emoticons. So if you guys can see our screen, can you guys give me a heart? Ah, there we go. See, the hearts are flowing. The hearts are flowing. Awesome. Okay. So again, we're here at the Ultimate High School Roadmap, and gonna get a little bit of an introduction. Actually, I'm gonna turn it over to my partner in crime here to introduce himself. I could introduce you, Tony, but I think it might be better for you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Coach Tony. I'll be one of your hosts for this little workshop here today. For those who don't know me, if you guys know where Disneyland is, kind of where I grew up near Disneyland. Family of immigrants. My parents told me to go to school nearby, so figured it out. My parents didn't go to college, so I kind of figured it out. I got into UC Irvine full ride, got to UCLA full ride. Fun fact, I don't think I shared this a lot. I actually got to 30 colleges when I applied myself. And then from there, two full rides. My parents were pumped. I did not go to the two full ride schools. I actually went to UC Berkeley, Go Bears, because I wanted to get away from my parents. That was the authentic, still the truth. To this day, I went because I just couldn't know. Right now, my parents said, "You go UCI, you stay at home, you drive. UCLA, you stay at home, you take the train." I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't do that. Can't do either option. So Berkeley, they won't let me commute that long every single day. So I went to Berkeley, loved it. I did get homesick. So those spoilers for students listening, like, yes, right? I did get super homesick. I think 2 weeks in, I started calling my mom and my dad every day. That became a tradition of me to talk to my parents daily now. So that's that. But loved my time there. I got to grow up really fast, got to learn a lot much. And that's when I discovered, like, hey, I realized, because I've always done education work. Like in high school, I was a tutor. I was a tutor for a bunch of different groups. And then when I came to college, I was also involved in a bunch of different education stuff. For those of you who know the AVID curriculum, that's the advancement via individual determination, like the college prep route. I helped start the AVID program at a middle school in Berkeley, King Middle School, for those who are in the area, right? I was one of the founders to help establish that program there. We started a bunch of reading programs at the local middle school and high schools in the Oakland and Berkeley area as well too. And I got involved in a bunch of recruitment work, so much I even helped the admissions department. We did the largest yield event to that date. They got bigger since then, but to that date, we flew 500 students to Berkeley, all expense paid trip, just to experience Berkeley. Because again, a lot of students don't get the opportunity, right? We tell our seniors all the time, like, hey, the feel, like, it has to be the feel of the school. That's why we do recommend, once you get in, go visit the schools. Again, little teasers again of what the tips are going to be for our seniors, right? But go to the school. There's a feel once you step on campus. Oh yes, this is the one for me, and that's what I felt at Berkeley. I know a lot of our students had that same feel when they went to the schools after they got accepted into as well too. So that kind of has catapulted my life because of my relationship with the admissions department. I got to work as a reader with them. They invited me, hey, Coach Tony, you want to be a reader with us? So what that means is that when students apply to Berkeley, I was one of the people who read their application. I said yes to the yes, recommended no to the no's, right? Okay, can you imagine a lot more no's than yeses there? So, but doing so taught, so I've been doing so much of the front end work of like getting helping students in that in the back, right? In the back, I was like, whoa, this is what they're really looking for. So like and we were seeing it more and more year after year after year of like parents saying, my child's doing everything, my child's doing a lot of things and all these things. And then I realize now, yes, you're doing a lot of things, but are you doing a lot of the right things? If you're doing a lot of the wrong things, it's not going to help you any other way, right? You just kind of, in a sense, wasting time, wasting energy, wasting effort. A lot of bad emotions come with that as well, too. Versus, let's be smart. And that's kind of the whole purpose of this workshop today is to help you guys know exactly what is important. You'll see it in real time of like, hey, why did Coach Art, Coach Tony only say spend a little bit here, but spend a lot here? It's because we've been replicating success, right? So since my time at Berkeley, I went on to become a director at UCLA for the outreach program. That was really fun. I actually worked at a test prep company and became their head of high school for there. After that, I opened my own high school. That was super cool for those of you in the Orange County area. It's called Unity Middle College High School. It's still around if you guys want to go there. Really cool model where we dual enroll the students at the community college. So the students taking college classes the entire time they're in high school. After that, during the year that must not be named, blew up on TikTok. What was my claim to fame there as well too. Became a little micro celebrity, and then I became TikTok's first college admissions partner. They have a book out. I'm actually in the book. It's actually pretty cool. So that's that there. So I've been doing this for 16 plus years. Oodles, very, very long time. And then for us is again, our goal is to help you guys win. That's kind of our big thing. And you'll see it. I'm gonna let you know ahead because a lot of parents tell me, so I'm just kind of reiterating it back. One thing I know, and this is a testament to Coach R as well too. You will probably hear the passion why we do it. Again, yeah, those of you who joined a little early before we started, we were like we were joking before call like, oh man, when did you sleep? 12 o'clock? Oh, me too. Because we're working on student essays, we're working on stuff to improve our student programs. It's again, we don't have to. We don't have to, right? It's because we care, and then hopefully that's kind of that message will be shared throughout the call here today. But yeah, no, that's me. I'm just a little peanut thing. The true master is up next. I'm gonna
Oh my
introduce you
gosh.
guys, right? We call him the student whisperer. We call
Oh,
him the parent liaison, right? Our head of coaching. Introducing Coach Art.
thank you very much for that. Gosh, so gracious introduction. So I don't think I can live up to that. So appreciate it. So hi everyone, I'm Coach Art. As Coach Tony mentioned, I am one of the head coaches at College Admission Secrets. I call myself parent liaison. I don't know, the student whisperer, I think that was a moniker that gave to me just because if you all know, all the parents out there, we all love our kids and we just and so over time you learn different strategies and ways to talking to your kids. But the one thing here is, and you can kind of see from my bio here that over actually probably over my lifetime, because I've always loved to coach, I've always loved to mentor, I always loved to educate. So over 20 years, I have been in a sports or a life coach to students and young professionals. I originally was in technology for over 30 years with so many different types of Fortune 500 companies. But really, it's been about 8 years that I've been in the college admission space. And how I started was basically probably the way that all of you started, or all of you that are here, because my proudest moments and my claim to fame is my three boys. Okay, my oldest graduated from UC Berkeley with a mechanical engineering degree. My middle son, he is pursuing his uh, uh, pre-med bio degree at University of Illinois in Chicago, and then my youngest is pursuing physical therapy at Biola University, and he is also playing college soccer. But again, my story is that just like all of you, my oldest, when he was going trying to apply for colleges, we just had we had no idea what the whole process was. I thought it was like when I did it, you fill out this application probably for a couple hours and you turn it in and then see what happens. And that's definitely not what was the landscape at the time that he was applying. And there was a lot more to it. I basically assisted and helped him as much as I could to try to put the best application out there, and found that I was pretty good at it actually. And so people were coming along. They were asking me, well, how did he get in? How did you do this? And so just started helping people at random, and family and friends. And so that's started my journey into college admissions. And then pretty soon, about 3 or 4 years ago, I talked with Coach Tony, and we decided to to join together and help out with college admission secrets. So for me, I love and I'm passionate about helping students get to their dream colleges. It is something that is, it's food for my soul, and it's not just about getting them in, but my key thing is getting them prepared to get to college as well. And I've seen so many amazing stories, so many amazing transformations of students that when they go through this process, uh, they 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 find confidence within themselves. They find that that they can take on this challenge of going to college. They know who they are when they go to college. They know what they want. Okay, because this process of getting into the colleges really is an introspective college, and you'll probably hear this from Coach Tony. I always say it in my phrase is dig deep, so we really dig deep and find out the essence of who the student is, and then to be able to translate that to the applications. So with that said, Coach Tony, why don't we go ahead and get started here? Now, I know that just a little bit here of kind of the format of how we're doing this. We have some amazing students that are in our program. And one of the things that we ran was a kind of our internship program. It was our first chance and opportunity to do that. And so we had some incredible students that were part of the internship. And so they're going to help us moderate today. And they're going to help us with asking us questions. We're going to kind of do this as a question format, but then and so we will introduce them as we go along within the process, and they'll introduce themselves as well. And so what we want to do is, as you know, just want to introduce ourselves. We're College Admission Secrets. And with College Admission Secrets, you can kind of tell that over the last 15 years, we have connected with, it's probably more than 4,000 now, right, Tony?
It's definitely all these numbers are off now.
Okay,
So
okay, I'm sorry. This is
this number, and which is funny because this is like 2 months ago. So our numbers have
exactly.
definitely grown a lot more, but it's yeah.
So I mean, but again, just to give you a little perspective, let's say we said 4,000 plus is much higher than that now. 11,000 plus families on Facebook, 30,000 families on TikTok. We have a huge presence on social media, but we have helped students gain acceptances to all UC campuses, all Ivy League colleges, all top 20, 50, 100 colleges. And on average, 98% of our coaching families have gotten into either the top 10 colleges, and 93% gotten their top 5. And so we're just so proud of that, not just because, again, that they're getting in, but they're living their dreams, and they're taking that next step right into their future. Not just them, but also the families that go along with them too. So we're just so proud of that. We're proud of our organization, and you're going to see, I guess, behind the veil here is really, you're going to see how Coach Tony and I and all of our staff and coaches, how we do things along the way. So just really quickly, Tony, let me see here. For our introductions, do we want to get this kick started here, Tony?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So here's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and
I'm gonna stop sharing
I'm
here,
gonna take
Tony.
back screen sharing from you, Coach
Yeah.
Art. So those who are here, again, like I mentioned, it's a workshop, right? It's a workshop, meaning you're not just gonna listen to us talk as well, too. We gave you guys, we created, Coach Art and I, we met and we created you guys a mini little workbook. as well too. Is it okay if I give you guys the workbook right now? Because the JB drop a yes in the chat. Coach Art loves his emoji. I love the yeses. I love the chats as well, so it can flow and stuff like that. Is okay. Drop a yes in the chat. You guys can type 3 letters, right? We all type 3 letters, and if we can't type 3 letters, holy moly, I worry about us for the college admissions process if we can't type 3 letters in the chat. If you guys want to go ahead and drop YES for yes as well. There you go. It's
Cool.
early. It's probably early. I know, and we usually do nighttime ones, right? Nighttime
Yeah.
training. So I know you guys are good to go. This is a little morning. I know you guys are little waking up right now. You guys know we're gonna hype you up. We're gonna hype you up, get you guys
Woo,
excited about the college admission
woo,
process. So here's what I'm gonna do.
woo.
Let me share my screen. Share my screen really quick. We created a little roadmap for you guys, right? We're a little roadmap for you guys. We're gonna go through this doc. So that's kind of the game plan for today. We're gonna go through this document and go through the whole thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys access. And give you guys access. I'm dropping in the chat for those who are here. Those who are here, and everyone watching the replay. It's some button around here. It's I don't know where we're gonna put this, right? So it's gonna be somewhere on this page or near this page or near this video, wherever
Ooh,
you're
look at that.
finding this
There's everybody coming on. You
replay.
can see it.
Go ahead and make a copy. So for those who are watching this live
Yes.
or watching the replay or in general, click File, make a copy, right? File, make a copy, and then once you make again, change it to your name or something, right? But once you make a copy, you have it. You can edit it on your version. Right now, I assume, if I'm doing it correctly, you guys can't edit on my thing right now, right? But click File, click Make a Copy, and we can go ahead and get started with that. I would do it as well, so you guys can see a live copy. I'm gonna make a copy. I'm gonna call this the Coach Art, Coach Tony version as well too. I'm gonna make a copy as well. For those of you, this might be a Google Doc tutorial, right? Of like if you want to share it with your child, if you're a student, want to share it with your parents, click share in top right corner, add their name. So I'm gonna share it to my buddy Art, right? Let him know as well too. Sure, send it. So now Coach Art and myself have access to this doc as editors as well too. Okay, so we'll probably be using this doc just to edit there. Okay, so before we get started on the official meat and potatoes of this call, I feel of one thing that we also will probably chime in throughout this call as well too is a lot of families you'll see that we'll be giving you here, do this, do this, do this, and you guys are gonna leave the event, right? Because I've learned this because if it's your first, really quick, is this your first? Who is it first time ever joining Coach Art and myself? Drop a one in the chat. It was your very first time. This is my first time seeing Coach Tony, first time seeing Coach Art. Drop a while. I got some new folks. Got some new folks here. All right. So one thing you'll see that we do a little differently than a lot of other people, we're gonna give you a fire hose of information. So as well too. One of our big mantras is we hold nothing back. Right? It's one of those other people like, oh yeah, I'll give you a breadcrumb, but you gotta pay for the rest. I'll give you a little nugget, but you gotta pay for the rest. No, that's not how we operate it here. If you've been to any of our trainings before, and those who've been here before, you guys can let our new friends know that it's gonna be a fire hose of information, right? So by the end of this workshop, you're gonna have so much notes, so many things to kind of think about that you're like, oh my goodness, how do I start? Oh my goodness, how do I put this together? Or can I check, is this the right path for my child? So something that we're doing, I asked our advisors right before this call, so they know it's coming as well too. We're opening up free coaching calls, right? So for our coaching families in our program, you guys have access to us inside of our private platforms, our discourse and office hours, but this is for our new families, right? Families that are not yet in our coaching programs yet. So you want maybe a little taste of the program, but also to, again, see if we're on track, right? Big thing about this call, it's not a sales call. So you can leave your credit cards at home. You don't have to bring your credit card to this call here. We're just gonna meet with our advisors. We'll go ahead and just talk about where your child's at and give you some recommendations along the way. So if you guys are interested in booking a chat, you can book this call anytime. I think the calendar is good for the next few days. So definitely do that. We are going to keep us up forever just because our accounts will be packed if we do this forever. So we'll leave it open for the next few days. If you guys are interested today, probably at the end of this call or throughout this call, feel free to just book a session so you can chat with our team there. Okay. With that being said, I think we're ready, Coach Art. I think we're ready to get.
You know what I know that Tony, we had a plan to do, I think, the State of the Union. What I'm going to do is we're gonna use that as like a break for us in the
I
middle.
love it. I love
So
it. That's
what we'll do,
beautiful.
because everybody just remember we're forgive us because Coach Tony and I, we love to just talk about this. It's kind of weird. We geek out about college admissions. And so that's basically what we're going to be doing right now.
Yep.
And so forgive us if we're just going to, spout and give information out there and knowledge and drop some knowledge.
Hmm.
But in the middle of this workshop, I'll do a little bit of what I call State of the Union of, kind of the interesting trends that are going on in college admissions. So that gives us a little bit of a break, give you guys a little bit of break. So absolutely, Tony, let's get this thing kickstarted. Woo!
Love it. And
Oh
then
boy, here we go.
just to get you guys teased up for that State of the Union that we have planned. So one of the big reasons our students do so well in the admissions process is we're not reacting, right? Most things we're not reacting to. It's like, oh, we knew that's going to happen. We knew things were going to happen because we, again, just like our students, you rely us on coaching. We get coaching too. We get services. We get education. We go to training. We go to classes. And again, those of you who've been fucking follow us for a while, you see us going to these events, right? So, like for example, recently, our leadership team, they went to learn from literally top schools in the nation, right? All the colleges came, UCs came, privates came, Ivies came, and they shared. Here's the information. Here's the latest and greatest news as well too. And a lot of this stuff is like, here's what's going to happen next year, year after that, year after that. So it's not like we're like, oh no, we didn't know this. No, we knew that was coming. And so that's the big thing about the State of the Union that I think you guys will be very excited to hear is like, what are the changes coming up? So again, if you are a junior, senior, right, a lot of things like boom, it's gonna be applicable. Right. By the way, what grade is everyone in? Let's probably start there too. In the chat,
Yeah.
as I finish chatting, drop your grade in the chat so you can again. So if we know we have a lot of a certain grade, we can probably spend a little more time today because again, it's an open 4 hours. We have still 3.5 hours left. We have a lot of oodles of time to chat. So if we know a grade, we can kind of focus a little harder on certain regions there. But yeah, that's the big reason why our students do so well because we're predicting, hey, because you're a freshman, keep in mind in 2, 3 years, this is going to happen, right? So we can prepare for that as well, too, because you'll see success doesn't happen like by accident, right? When a lot of our students like, whoa, like how'd you get so many good results? It wasn't like by accident. It wasn't one thing that they did. It was a mixture of things. And that's kind of, again, that's, you'll see, we're teasing a little ahead of time, right? You'll see that it's a mixture of a lot of small things put together, right? And the students, again, who tend to start a lot earlier in the process, right? They tend to do better. So when you see a lot of our success stories of our kids doing really, really well, again, some of them started with us a little later, but a lot of them started with us earlier, right? Some of them started in 10th grade and 9th grade. Some of our families started in 8th grade with us, right? Because we can set the foundation and go from there. That's gonna be the big one. All right, Coach Art. Oh, so
Yes.
like I mentioned, we have no notes, right? Because one of those like people have notes, they copy. We literally threw this template together and we're like, all right, let's wing the rest, right? As well too, because I think Coach Art and I have lost again. And running through the chat really quick, we have a good mix today. We have a good mix. A lot of ninth graders.
Yes, which
The
that's
most time,
amazing.
which is the
That's
optimal
the
time.
exactly. That is the
Optimal
ideal.
time for you
That is
all. So
awesome. So welcome ninth
definitely,
graders.
you guys are
But
awesome.
welcome 10th and 11th and even 12th if you guys are on. Oh, I love it. We got some 8th graders in here too.
I
Ooh,
see
we
some
got some
seventh and
7th
seventh and sixth
graders.
graders as well.
Woo!
We,
All
we, we,
right,
we literally got the
welcome.
whole gamut. Got the whole gamut
I
today.
love it.
So,
I love it.
awesome. All right. So, Coach Art, let's just go ahead and just
Yes.
start off as well too. So, we
Yes.
threw personal development. Coach Art, how does that relate to college admissions in any way?
Well, that's a good idea. Good question. I think a lot of times that Antonia, it's as if I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to everybody here. If we're kind of all
By the way, I think this whole training, by the way, and you guys can agree or not, it's gonna feel like a Coach Tony geeking out session, and you guys are just in the room, right?
yes,
So all those like you guys are in the room just listening and fiercely taking notes or typing whatever you do as
yeah,
are doing as well too. But that's I think that's gonna be the format. And yeah, let us know in the chat. You guys like that? Don't like that? Tell us to slow
exactly.
down, ask follow-up questions. Again, that's what we're here for. We have our moderators here. They're gonna start collecting questions. We're gonna have like breaks, and we're gonna answer questions as well too. So definitely again, rattle in the chat. But go
Yeah.
go ahead, Coach Art.
So personal development, when Coach Tony and I were kind of thinking about what should we do, um, one of the things that we do well in our company is to kind of make sure that our students are prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is this. Um, going and doing college admissions and trying to prep for even just in high school or so, it's not just about, oh, I'm gonna do this academic, I'm gonna do this activity. We just don't tell you do this and then go. I think a lot of the times, and parents will probably really understand this, is that there is preparation. It's just like anything. If you, let's say, start a sport and you don't just go on the field and just start playing. You have to you have to prepare. You have to practice. You have to make sure that um, that you can be in the best shape that you can be. And so we started looking at this, and first of all, the very top piece of that is what are your strengths and your weaknesses? And so whenever someone wants to go ahead and get started just to improve, you got to assess
Hmm.
yourself. And one of those things we said here is what are your strengths and weaknesses? And when we talk about strength and weaknesses, it can be a lot of different things. It could be time management, your study skills. It could be, physically, if physical, mental, we even talked about maybe even spiritual. However, what is the areas that you need help with and assistance with, or what are things that you want to continue to develop because you're really good at? Some of the things that I would say is, review those, especially those who are in seventh and eighth and ninth grade. Review the subjects that you were going and studying it in middle school, and identify what are some of those classes, what are some of those subjects that you were weak in, and some of those that you're strong in. For instance, if math was challenging, then maybe what you have to do is we have to set up some type of tutoring, some type of additional educational programs for you to get brushed up, right? So there's these the strengths and weaknesses span from mental, physical, intellectual, spiritual. I mean, all of the things that encompass who you are. Okay. And I don't know, Tony, if we want to kind of touch upon, and maybe this is a good thing, is what are some key, and I'll ask you, what are some
Sure.
key things that when a student is going into high school, what are some key things that they need to have, and attributes and qualities that you think they need to be prepared for at
Great
least being
question.
freshmen?
Yeah, and I had it again. Yeah, you guys are seeing our brains work in real time right now, right? So, really cool idea that I think I'm gonna recommend people do who are again who are here live, or if you're watching the replay,
Right.
do this like you should have again the doc already. As we're
Exactly.
talking, fill this out, right?
Yep.
Again, if you do nothing, again, quick tangent, right? Little venting session right now. Do you know how many videos we put out every single week? Coach Art, myself, and our team,
Oh my gosh.
right? I think we did the math like 10, 20 hours of training every single week. You know how many text responses we send out every single week? So many. You know how many freebies we send out? I think we're in the hundreds per week.
Yes.
No one has done anything about it. It's the biggest thing. So if there's one ask for this workshop, participate. Right? We're not teachers like, nope, wrong answer. There's no wrong answer here.
No.
Right? This is like a self-reflection of you. So again, one ask, right? Can't make you guys do anything, right? But one ask again to maximize this event, to maximize this session, fill it in. Fill it in. I might even ask a little bit, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? As well. Just to kind of get some again. The coolest thing about again, I think Coach Art, you'll see uber smart. I think I'm pretty smart, right? A lot of our coaches
Oh.
are also pretty smart. It's scary when you put all of us in a room,
Ooh, watch
right?
out.
Because that's when magic happens, is the biggest thing as well. So again, one of the cool things about our community, our little group, is that our students get to talk to each other. Our parents can talk to each other. We have a private Discord community, right? So you can show ideas back and forth. How cool would it be? Like we have a lot of ninth graders here, eighth, seventh, eighth, ninth graders. What if you share something and a senior family right now is gonna say, hey, actually, we've done that. We went through that issue already and here's what we did as well. I think that's the power of community, I feel, right? The biggest power is like
Mhm.
sharing thoughts there. So again, I do encourage you guys, again, no requirement, but ask, right? Fill us out. We're going to go through literally each section, teach you guys how to do each one out. We'll throw some ideas out here so you guys can start thinking about it. But
Yeah.
this to maximize this event, to leave this event with like, holy moly, I feel accomplished. Do the stuff. Don't just watch us. Don't just listen to us.
I agree.
Some of you guys, I bet you, I'm just like in your on an iPad somewhere, on a TV somewhere, listening to me. right? Sit down, pause, and go ahead and do the work itself. That's the big key. But going back to Coach Art's question, what skills does a student need to go in? And I think there's a lot, right? There's a lot of different ones. So I'll kind of name a few big ones. Kind of I'll tease a little bit and kind of talk about different aspects as well too. So first one, when it comes to the academics kind of region, I can think of two things, right? Number one of the big one is love of learning, right? Love of learning is gonna be a really key thing that colleges, again, it's one of those things as a reader. That's one of actually the things that we tracked for, we looked for is love of learning. Does a student actually love to learn something or just doing it just because as well too? And you're like, how's the reader know? We know. I've read thousands of apps. I know when a student's doing something look good and doing something they enjoy. It's a different level, right? Again, you'll hear it. Me and Art, we talk differently than a lot of the people about college admissions because we geek out. This is like, well, literally, people geek out about cars. People geek out about a lot of different things. We geek out about college admissions is the big one, and you'll hear that over the time. But for me, it's love of learning. Again, it doesn't matter what. What does your child love to do? And again, for a lot of this, it'll start like a like. I like this, right? Because all things that you love have to start from a like. You can't just jump straight to love. That's kind of creepy, right? You jump to love. You have to like it first, then you do it more, then you become a love as well too. So I think that's one of the big ones. The other big one is a big one, very very big one. Actually, there's now it made me think of another one as well too. Asking for help. Asking for help is a really huge skill. Let me start writing this down so I don't forget as well too.
Yeah, I was gonna hate to. Oh yeah, that's right. You did share it with me.
I did share with you, sir. Here, I'll drop in the chat for you. I'll chat with you directly.
I'll take notes while you're doing it.
Thank you, sir. So I wrote what's the first I said? Brain fart. I also have short memory, guys. I just said love of learning, right? Love of learning is number one.
And ask for help.
Ask for help is number two. Ask for help, right? One of the hardest things for our students to do is asking for help, right? It's one of those things that, like, again, adults, you ask for help pretty much almost every day from different aspects, right? But for students, it's really, really hard to. Why? I bet you it's because they got in trouble for asking for help, or they've seen when people ask for help in like not the exact right approach. It's been felt as a punishment rather than an optimistic way, right? I think that's gonna be the big one. So one of the big tools that we help our students learn early, especially like ninth graders, right? Because again, a lot of you guys are probably aiming for top schools. You're aiming for like really like big end schools. So you want your grades. I want straight A's, blah blah blah. I actually had a conversation, coach, with a student this week on a coaching call. And then the student had a B, right? Student had a B, and they were like, "Oh, I have a B right now." And then I'm like, "Oh, like, can you bring up an A?" They're like, "I think so." I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you think so? Like, tell me what that means, right?" And then they're like, "Oh, I kind of get it. I'm not super sure." And then I was like, "Oh, have you asked for help?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't need it, right?" She's like, "I don't need, I have a B." So it's not like a thing. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people think that you have to wait till you have an F to be able to ask for help. And here's the reality. Here's something I've learned. Again, this is working with thousands of students. The harder down, the harder deficit, the harder it is to ask for help, right? The further away when you have a B, it's not that hard to ask for help. It's C, a little harder, but it's not that hard. When you have a D or an F, it becomes really hard. You know why? Shame. It's the emotion of it. It's the feeling of like, oh man, I suck. That's all I do. But I don't want people to know I suck, is the thing. Because we all have egos. We all have egos. It's shame and ego put together, right? So it's really, really hard to. So the advice I told that student with that B, I was like, I know you'll be fine. Here's what my homework for you for this week is. Go to your teacher, ask him for help. Because right now, how hard is it to ask, hey, what can I do better? Not hard, right? Again, you're not bad. It's not you're in a really bad state, but you're asking for help because then here's what I have learned, and Coach, I'd love to hear your thoughts, both as a coach and as a parent on this topic, is that when you're scared to do stuff because you're scared of the unknown, you don't know what's going to happen. The kids with that bad grade, oh man, if I ask, teacher's going to yell at me, my parents are going to yell at me, and you make up all these stories, right? You make up all these stories in your head. That's why you never do stuff.
That's right.
Right. And even adults, maybe us too, right? We're scared to do stuff because we're scared. Oh, what if they, and then again, think about it. How bad was it ever? Those things, not much. So the reason I told that student to go ask for help, I was like, hey, I bet you I'm willing to put money on it that they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm happy to help you. Just work on this as well too. And then the student's going to realize I'm going to predict in the future. I'm going to predict that you're like, wait, that wasn't so bad at all. And I'm like, yeah, asking for help is not bad at all. It's just the mental like fear of it. That's what stops a lot of people. But Coach, I love kind of get your thoughts.
No, it's
Uh,
it's funny you say that because, and I'm gonna get it from a different perspective. And again, from a parent, I'll be very, very honest. We all, as parents, we want to, we want our kids to have the best and to be the best. Because we want them to be successful. We want them to go on in life and be happy. Okay. And sometimes that translates to us kind of imposing our stuff onto them that we want, and sometimes it's not necessarily in line with maybe what they want. Now there's a couple of things, and I will talk about student to the student here, is that, remember, it's funny, and yeah, Tony, it's funny you say from the parents perspective, and probably the parents are on are going to understand this. You go to your kids and you tell them and you say, hey, go ahead and do this, and they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's and they don't listen to you, or try to understand what you're saying, or so, because they just think, oh, you're my mom and dad. Then the same, they could go literally to a coach, they could go to somebody else, that person says exactly the same thing, and it's like an epiphany for them. Oh my gosh, really? And so that whole thing of asking for help, especially if you ask for help for your parents, it's a tough thing, just because we're constantly telling you what to do, what to do, what to do, and then you start thinking, oh gosh, enough, enough, enough. And so yes, I agree. Asking for help, it's one of those things where I've learned as a parent is you just try. And again, I'm hard at this, but you got to try just to listen. Okay, just to listen to what they're saying, be the supporter, be the person, not necessarily to provide that advice, but be the support, and then get support from somebody else, possibly, that can that can help coach like us. Now, I wanted to make sure that I don't forget this, because this is one phrase that I always use. And it's, I think this is actually the entirety of this whole thing, Tony, that we're talking about
yeah.
today, which is my phrase that I've always used, because I'm a project manager at heart, is plan the work and work the plan. Okay. It sounds very simple, but it's very hard to execute. And the reason why, and this is everything that we do here, everything that we're saying here, is because I think a lot of students, what I've noticed is that they don't know where to start. And then on top of that, they don't track what to do and how to improve along the way. And so that's part of the things that we do. But, I think one of the skills, and I'll answer my own question that I posed to you, Tony,
Mhm.
is that it's really, really important for everyone. And I know this is probably an easy thing to say, but it's really important to plan before you get to high school,
Mhm.
because a lot of students, they're so excited about, oh, I'm getting to this new school, but they really don't sit down and kind of think about that.
Mhm.
What does that really mean? And so here's a couple of things. When we say plan the work and work the plan, we're going to go through this. And I know, Tony, I think we're running out of, we're supposed to be covering ninth grade right now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through this real quickly. So first of all, what are your goals from an academic standpoint? That's one thing. Okay. So, identifying your weaknesses and all of that, right? Secondly, is what are your interests and your hobbies? So we know that the first things that we do when we're writing the applications is we say, what are you interested in? What are you passionate about?
Mhm.
What do you love? Well, you should start a kind to understand that before you get into high school, because then that could, lead you into the things that you're doing, right? Okay. And on top of that, I would always say, in one of the big things of, at least for freshman and sophomore year, is this is the discovery and exploratory time. This is a big time for you to go ahead and find out what are a lot of the things that you could do, so that your junior and senior you can really commit to. Okay. Um, Another thing is getting organized. Okay. So I can't tell you enough how I've talked to so many students where they don't have a planner, or they don't have a calendar, or they don't have something where they actually write down what they're supposed to be doing. It's
Hmm.
like in their head. And it blows me away because there are some amazing students I've seen, and they're uber smart. But even the smartest ones, and I'm going to say myself too, and well, maybe not for Tony. Tony's uber smart, but to keep all that stuff in your mind, and then to worry about your classes, then worry about your grades, and
Hmm.
worry about your
Hmm.
friends, and worry about the dance, and where I mean, you put all that stuff in your head, you're not going to be able to keep track of all of it, and that's
Hmm.
where you start. You're not getting organized, right? Setting up a space like a workspace in which
Hmm.
where are you going to study, where what's the ideal area, right? Is that your house, is that the library, is that whatever it is, right? Organizing just your stuff, like your supplies and everything else. That's amazing. Those are things you need to do. Another thing that I say, as prep to high school, start building your communication and your connections, right?
Hmm.
So what I mean by that is, in high school, one of the big things is you're going to be attending these school events, right? And you're going to be meeting new people. Start prepping now, be able to start being able to communicate with other people, and new people. Maybe reconnect with friends that you haven't talked to in a while that are going to your high school. Maybe connect with new ones beforehand. Practice your communication skills. Okay. Like, learn how to talk to people, expressing yourself, put together. I always like to say this, and gosh, no, I think Tony, I'm dropping knowledge here, and hopefully you don't mind me getting on my soapbox, because one of the
Go,
things that
go, go. By
uh
the way, really quick, yes, liking it so far. Quick pause.
oh yeah,
This
yeah.
is, this is a new
Is this
format. New format
okay?
for
I
us.
hope this is
We've
informative.
done this
Yeah.
once. It was really good. Let me see if you guys like
You
drop a
guys,
yes or drop a heart.
okay, all right, good.
Coach R loves the hearts. I love the yeses. Let's see
Okay,
who likes who more.
okay,
So I'll the chat. All right, the hearts are coming in. No, no,
okay,
no
good,
no one likes
good.
Coach Tony with the yeses.
Okay.
Kidding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
A couple things is just with practicing communication. I always like to say, do your 30-second elevator pitch. I say this. It's one of those things where just have a brief introduction of who you are. Hey, I'm this, blah, 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 I love to do sports, or just figure that out, because you never know who you're going to meet in an elevator. Let's say someone that one of the most favorite people in the world, or one that you really want to talk to, comes in the elevator. What are you going to talk to them? Okay, what are you going to say to them about yourself, right? Start, and this is important, not because of doing sports, and I'm not advocating that everyone does sports, but start getting a physical routine, just keeping yourself up to in shape. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's walking, if it's running, if it's doing a sport, but stay active, because the one thing to really be mentally strong is you have to be physically strong. In order for your brain to be strong, it needs a body to feed it. Okay. And so that's an important thing, is, get involved in some type of physical activity, whatever it is, just so you can get the juices flowing. Okay. Another thing that students don't do, which I think is learn basic life skills. Okay. You're going into high school now. You're going to have to start learning this. So, couple of things, and we'll talk about this, Tony, is time management and self-discipline. Holy cow.
Holy
Time
cow.
management. Time management. This is the big thing we've talked about, is having a plan, or being able to get organized. And self-discipline is one of the things I talk about, is because with self-discipline, you're going to have to, especially when you go into your junior and senior, but of course freshman sophomore, you're going to have a lot of stresses in your life, and you may have to give up certain things. It's not going to be as easy in the middle school, where you can kind of take a break and watch TV, and there are times when you're going to have to do homework, and you're going to have to do things that you may not want to do, because it's taking time away from leisure, or things that you enjoy.
Mhm.
So self-discipline, be able to do that. I will say, and I know this is kind of odd, and I don't know if parents agree with this, but I would say is you got to start learning a little bit about money, and how to save, and managing
Mm.
money, everything else. That is because one of the things that I always talk about is prepping for college. Well, guess what? When you get to college, mom and dad are going to be there, of course, but you are going to have independence.
Yep.
You're going to have to learn how to manage your money. Okay. So if you start learning that now, great. And then Another thing, this is all prep for college, but you might say, well, why do I need to learn this as a freshman or sophomore, or junior, senior? Learn basic, household chore duties
Mm.
and skills. Learn how to cook meals. Learn how to clean after yourself. And it's just basic stuff that you need to learn because you're going to need to do that in college. But I will tell you, the more that you learn about this and the more that you become self-independent, the better. And the sooner the better. And then
I have a really funny before you go to the next one. I have one a
please go
funny
ahead.
story about this because yes, 100% that one. Again, I left home, went to Berkeley. I learned really fast 2 weeks in. I was very spoiled by my mama. I'm a huge mama's boy,
Okay.
as well too, right? I did laundry for the first time. I went up and down because I kept forgetting the change or this or detergent or all these random things my first time. And then my big advice for seniors, I've said this every single year, don't forget to pack a spoon, right? The reason why that's my thing is my first meal. In college you don't have a lot of money, but
Right.
my parents like when I got to college, I got like cereal, got milk. I was like, boom, I just eat cereal, right? And that's like typical like quick
Sure.
quick meal as
Easy.
well too. I realized when I first ate cereal for like my first day in college, second day in college, right? I had the milk. I'm curious to who does milk first, cereal after. I do milk first and cereal after, right? I only had a fork. You know how hard it is to eat cereal with just a fork is my thing. So one of my things, always pack a spoon when you're going to college as well. But yeah, 100% yes to how basic, right? You don't have to do like everything.
No.
But I think just like knowing enough adult 101 is
Yeah,
the thing that I learned really fast, really hard as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. But go ahead, Coach Art.
No problem. And then the last thing, and I know we got to get into this, but last thing, and this is something that I think, when you guys are joining us, and let us know, and I would love to help you too. And oh gosh, who's really good at this is also Coach Victor is amazing at this too.
Mm,
Planning out, just planning, right? Planning out your high school, researching the type of classes, mapping out extracurricular activities, which is what we're gonna literally do now. So it's a
correct.
segue, but
Oh, I like that. Look at that.
it's a segue is again, plan the work and then work the plan. Okay. And so I'm just so excited about the rest of the stuff that we're doing. Well, let's kind of rifle through the rest of this here, Tony, because if you scroll,
Yeah.
first of all, what are some of your passions and interests? I put down there is again to write out what your passions and interests. We put a really cool resources there is learningstylequiz.com. It is an amazing site in which it kind of shows what your personality is. Okay. And so you fill out this quiz, and when you do that, uh, it generates a personality profile of who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, what type of relationships that are good for you or not bad for you, but just that you interact with. And so you can start learning about yourself now, so that when you go into high school, you're going to know the kind of person that you are, your kind of personality, what other personalities that rub you the wrong way or ones that you really like. So you see here, learning style matters. Okay. This is an incredible way for you to learn about yourself. And so the more that you learn of who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you, all of that, you're going to be so much more ahead of the game.
Quick,
Okay.
quick comment real fast. So those who download the copy like live, the ones who are doing it after, you'll be fine. But I added extra S by accident. It's just learning style quiz, not
Yes.
just
Yes.
style.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you want to go, if you're like, oh well, this is the wrong site. Yeah, it was the wrong site. Go
Learning
back to
style quiz.
learningstylequiz.com.
Okay.
It should look like this as of today. It might change in the future, but as of today, it looks like this right now.
Okay. Let's move. So we talked about keeping yourself fit, right? How can I keep myself in shape physically, mentally, right? How do I handle stress? There are, okay, I'll give you a little preview. One of the biggest topics at our conference 2 weeks ago was the mental health of students. These days, and again, the year that shall not be named, has I think has really taken its toll, or not necessarily taken, but it's also augmented or increased the stress levels of students just because it really has affected everyone from a mental perspective. And so, how do you keep yourself in shape physically? That's what I'm talking about active. How do you what are some strategies that you can use
Hmm.
in order to keep yourself mentally strong? And so we have some resources there, teenlineonline.org, kidshealth.org, myplate.gov. These are just some examples. There's so many other
Hmm.
resources out there that can help you, but find the one that works for you before you start high school.
Hmm.
Okay. Or even if you're in high school, of course, right now, start start investing in having yourself being physically and mentally strong. Learn that now so that when you get to college and you're on your own, you have the ability to cope with all the things that are coming at you. Okay. Because it's just 100 times more than what you see now in high school. Okay.
I
Not
think
100
I
times.
want to share a comment. Why can't we put this section in here as well too? Because I think
Sure. Yeah.
the thing is a lot of students they hit stress and they don't know what to do with it. It's like if you think about
Yes.
life, right? If you get into a situation you have never done and you have no clue how to react,
Right.
that's when your body shuts down. That's when your brain shuts down and you go into
Right.
however you do panic mode is pretty much. And that's what I say. That's how people panic, right? Is
Right.
it? Because like I never planned for the situation.
Yeah.
What if, but like, think about this way, right? If you see a hot stove, you know not to touch the pan. Is the thing. Why? You probably seen someone do it, or you realize you clicked in your head or something, and like, oh, if I touch it, it's bad, right? It's like you know what to react. A lot of the stuff what it's gonna tell you is here's stuff to prepare for, so you are aware is the first step, right? Because if you're aware, it's easy. Having stress. Right now, again, I'm hoping now, knock on wood, right? We're not stressed right now, is the thing. Or I'm sure other parts of life, but overall, right? We're not super stressed. If not, you wouldn't be here. You're probably freaking out about the other situation you have. But the thing is, now that we're in a good mental state right now, let's figure out, how do I react best when I'm in a stressful situation, right? Understanding, hey, if things are gonna go bad, how am I gonna react? Because again, when bad things happen, our brain goes to autopilot mode, right?
Right.
It's just like the fight or flight reaction. Versus if you know, hey, if I get this, this is what I'm gonna do, right?
Right.
Then it conditions your brain. And we said physically and mentally is because these two factors, again, tons of research out there. This is how you keep yourself safe is the
Right.
biggest thing as well, too, right? There is a lot of scientific studies that if you work out, if you stay healthy, your life is a lot better. Mentally, if you're good, you tend to be
Right.
a lot better. So that's the science answer. But for us, this is prepping. So you make sure you know, hey, when I get there, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, and imagine again if you have all of this worked out the summer before your freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, how much ahead of the game you are. And then again, as I mentioned, for all those who are still in high school or are in high school right now, this doesn't mean you can't start this. You can
Nope.
absolutely do that. Go forward and start really thinking about how you can improve. And you'll find that if you just think about these things, just even if you write them down, okay, and start thinking about them, you might find things that you might find yourself just being able to get organized better. So now, if we could keep going down the list here, now this is where again our service, our company, with respect to colleges. So when you're, let's say, you're starting as a ninth grader, but let's say 10, 11, and especially 12, um, it's good to just kind of understand what are the factors that you care about with colleges. Could be how, and this is more relevant for those, as I mentioned, for those who are students out there that are thinking about they're closer to that their senior year. What are some factors that you care about? Is it the case where you want a big school versus a small school, population of it, right? Do you want one that is um, in like a regional, like location wise, right? Where are you location wise? Is it you like the beach? You like inland? You like the desert? All of that, right? Another thing that you consider is what kind of programs, educational programs do they offer? The majors. What is their yeah? What another thing here is um are they are what kind of social life or the uh eh, what do you call it, environment, college environment do they have, right? That's available. Are you looking for one that has you know a lot of like football games in the weekends or big games or so, or big social, or you're looking for less of that? There you have to also think about is the distance away from your family as well. Okay. You have to, and you also have to think about is, the support system that's there from an educational, mental, physical, spiritual, all of that as well. Just because you will probably find that the smaller schools may have more, maybe a little more personal versus the larger schools, just because they're fairly large. They'll have support systems, but there's just more people to work with, right?
Hmm.
I don't know, Tony, there's so many factors, but
There's a lot of factors, but one thing I know, I don't know if you did it purposely or impurposely, Coach Art.
yeah.
Where's ranking, y'all?
Oh yeah,
where is I
exactly.
go here because top ranked. Coach
Right.
Art listed multiple things before rank, and that is
Yeah.
our big stance on ranking. It should be down here. It should
Yeah.
be down there. When a lot of families come to us very beginning, they're like, here's my college list. I look at the list, I'm like,
I
whoa,
know.
these are wild schools. And I was like, this looks very familiar because doing this industry now for like over 10
Oh
years,
gosh.
the list is exactly the same. You guys are all applying
Exactly
to
the
the same
same.
exact schools because you guys all
Yeah.
did the same thing. You Googled top schools for Blake, right?
Right.
As well, too. And that was your list default. And again, it's not your fault either, right? It's like the analogy I always tell families, like it's like buying a computer, right? You go in, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're like, how much is it? Right? Anything you buy, how much is it? Is your first question because that's all you know to think about, right? But like, if you care about cost, here, get a Chromebook, right? It's $200. You're good to
Right.
go. Is that, but you're a video editor. That Chromebook, I don't think technology has moved that fast to make
Right.
that Chromebook editable for your things. So it's what are you looking for in what you're doing? Ranking, I always tell families, serves three purposes. Number one, students gets to brag on their resume. Nice little resume thing to put on them. One. Number two, it helps you with your first job, right? A lot of these higher ranking schools do have like
Of course.
connections or has opportunities, pretty robust career centers that can help you get your first job. However, little caveat, that's it, right? Your college can get you the first job, but if you suck, according to the world, you're not going to move much after that is the biggest thing there. Because again, the world nowadays is shifting so much to skills based. I don't really care where you go,
Right.
right? As well, in fact, a lot of the people that we know, I think me or personally, right, they didn't go to like fancy schools, but I would pick them over any Ivy League person any day of the week because they work so hard. They know and they're very smart in what it is, right? They might, again, that's all the facts. What they couldn't afford the Ivy League prices and that, but they're again skills, and you'll see us in the industry now. And kind of going back to what Coach Art mentioned about connections, where is it? He talked about connections,
Yeah.
connections and communications. That is huge, right? So the real talk I always tell families is that when you go to college, your two goals: meet people. That's it. It means meet people, meet people, because your degree doesn't mean much, by the way, in the world anymore, right? It used to be like, oh, you're set, right? But it's the people you know, right? You can graduate from the top school, but no one can still hire you. People think that, by the way, getting a job is not guaranteed either at any college, right? It's not like,
Right.
hey, you go and you're going to get a job. It's like it helps you get a job, but it's that. And the third reason for ranking, parents, you get to brag to your friends. And don't lie, that's why you want your kid to go to a top school. That's pretty much it. As well. And then you're like, no, I want my kid to blah, blah. No. You want to brag. We're human, right? Let's state all the facts. We're human. We love to brag. My parents love to brag now that I went to Berkeley as well, too, right? So it's a bragging thing. At the same time, yes, that's great. Be proud, right? But you see how Coach already even mentioned that. It's because the takeaway, hopefully, the big takeaway from this section, there are factors that should matter more. We always say keep ranking top 10, not top 5. Meaning it's probably gonna be important because if not, there's a reason why you're going with us to help you guys out, right? Of course, we're coaches. We're very ambitious by nature. We want you to go to the top schools because if you can get top schools, we get to look good as well too. So it's a win-win-win for everyone, right? But we don't push as hard. Our big thing is fit. All the things that Coach Art mentioned above here, that's fit. What if you go to one of these top schools, but it's all small classes and you get called on? What if your child hates being called on every single day? They might like a bigger school where they don't get that much attention, but they can still learn this and that, right? What if the school for them is on East Coast, like the Ivies are on East Coast, but again, Coach Art and I, we're on the West Coast right now. What if you can't leave home? What if you have a family situation? What if like parents have a health condition? No matter how awesome Harvard is, you're probably going to want to stay close to home to take care of your parents, right? So when it comes to these factors, again, people always say, I want to go to Ivies. I want to go. I'm like, oh, cool. Why? No one has ever given, actually, me asking this for 16 years now, no one has ever given me a good answer why they want to go to a school. It ends up being, oh, because it's ranked high to get me a job. And that's, again, not saying it's wrong, is that's everyone's natural instinct. So one of the big things we want you guys to kind of be aware of is throughout this process, let's help find the best fit for your student. That's the other comment I would have, because I think Coach R had a master list right here. The biggest thing is going to be, what does your student want? Because parent, again, I'm not a parent yet. I'm only just a cat dad of 2 cats. And Coach R, feel free to share on this, because I think
Sure,
you're
of
a parent, you
course.
can relate as well too.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the list is the parents list, by the way. So when we talk to a student, I'm like, oh, it looks like you want to go to Harvard, Yale, UCLA, Stanford. And the kid's like, no. I was like, wait, what? And it's like, oh, mom's like, oh, yeah, I put that. I think blah, blah, blah as well, too. So, yes, I think there's a mix, right? Seeing kind of helping families a lot. I think there's a mix. Yes, parents contribute, because, again, the real talk, parents are probably paying for it. So I tell students, hey, if parents are paying, they have control. Whoever pays the bill has. Sorry, for a little going quick little anecdote. For me, when I went to Berkeley, I didn't get a full ride. Right? That's the one school that didn't give me a full ride. I took loans all under my name. I just paid it off this year too. So it's like I took it all in my name, so my parents couldn't say anything. Right. So if you're willing to do that, you have to take the consequences with it. So for me, I had student debt for years as well too, but I did it because I want to go away. Because if I stayed home, no one had to worry about it. Right. So keeping that in mind. But a big thing is, what does the student want? Sure, a parent wants them to stay close to home. Is that what the student want? Again, mixture, right? That's when it gets a little nuanced, I think, for me. Like, if you're gonna go far away, are you willing to take the loans out? If not, cool. We had a student. One quick story before I get Coach R's thoughts.
Yeah.
Is we had a student. She's finished up Cornell right now. And then so when we worked with her, she told me, Coach Tony, my dream since I was a little girl is to go to UCLA. And I was like, all right, let's make it happen, right? So we did it. Guess what? She got to every single UC she wanted. She's out of state too. She's not even like close. She was competing for that 18% of spots that is reserved for like out of state international students. So she did it. She like overcame the odds, got into she got to LA, Berkeley. I think she got into 6 UCs. So a bunch of schools there. She also got to the Ivies. Is the same thing too. She's from New York, right? So then at the end, I'm like, dude, you did it. She's over the moon. It was like April's a very fun, emotional month for us, because the kids, you see their kids win, you see them get in, they're so pumped, they're so excited. And then the money, the money talk comes in, right? Because she's out of state, right? Going to UCLA will cost, I think like it was like 60 to 80,000 per year, just because she's out of state, right? It's 30,000 for in-state or California residents. For non-residents, it's a lot more, like almost double per year as well too. Cornell, they gave her a really fat financial aid package, again, because the private schools, they can give you more money. Public schools don't give you a lot of money. So that was the thing. Her parents told her, if you go to Cornell, I'll help you pay for it. If you go to UCLA, I'm not going to help you pay for it. So that was the situation the student was in. So that one of our like final coaching calls with her, which, by the way, for those who are like, what happened? She chose Cornell. She chose Cornell. What was the opportunity? Because what I told her was, hey, you want to be a doctor, right? I was like, yeah, okay, I want to be a doctor. Cool. Why don't you finish your undergraduate at Cornell, prep yourself, and apply for UCLA Med? Because you're gonna get depth anyways for any med school, right? Right. Finish your Cornell. Your parents gonna help you pay for it. Your parents are kind of sound like they're leaning towards it. So knowing her, she's a very family based person. She gets that well too. So she's finished up her time at Cornell. She'll be applying to med school, I think, in 2 years as well too. But she can now explore like LA if she wants to, or explore other areas after that. So again, a lot of it, I think it's gonna be a mix between a student's choice. At the same time, when it comes to money, I think I still feel that a parent has a say if they're paying is the other one. But Coach R, as a parent, what would you kind of say?
No, again, and I'm going to talk from a parent's perspective. I understand. I mean, I'm also in the same boat in a sense of, we all want the end of the day, we all want our kids to be happy and to be successful. And unfortunately, right now, that the perception is that, you go to a high top 20, top 50, top 100 school, you're going to be successful. And I don't I don't disagree with that, because yes, I have seen on both sides where, students who come from these top 20, top 50, 100, yes, as Coach Tony mentioned, their first job, they were able to get in because of the name of the school. And that's all we will. But the key thing here is that at the end of the day, is that school going to prepare them to go to the next job or to live their life after that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's the biggest thing. And being in this position now for several years, of course, I've seen that it's matter of what the students do once they get in. Okay. And
Mm.
you can be at Berkeley and but get overwhelmed and not do well and not prepare yourself for life. Or you could be at a smaller school with, you know, amazing support systems that will help you grow and mature and then be very successful, right? Now, again, there's always caveats, there's always exceptions to the rule and everything else, but you see exactly what Coach Tony mentioned is that ranking is below. And I will tell you, being at the conference 2 weeks ago, that was the biggest thing that they said. There are enough schools in the United States where every single student can get into college. Every single one. Okay. Doesn't matter what their credentials are, whatever, there is a school for them. Okay. And so, yes, we have to think about making in top 20, top 50. Is it going to do well for you? Yes, because you might have, again, of course, there's great things about this because they're top 20, top 50, top 100, they have the money to invest, all these kind of things. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of schools out there that also have done very well in supporting their students. Even probably even more so just because they're smaller and not as, and
Mm-hmm.
on top of this, I think the whole financial aid situation as well with these top
Yep.
schools, you can, with, as Coach Tony mentioned, for some of the privates or the privates, they can throw a lot of money at you because they want you,
Mm-hmm.
because they need you. And so you could get the same type of education as you do at that school versus the, you know, again, top 50, top 100, whatever it is, and not have to come out with debt or little to no debt, right? Okay. We can keep going on here, but let's kind of scroll through. Here's some great resources: niche.com, bigfuture.collegeboard.org, and score.com. These are some resources where, um, prior to going to high school or during high school, I love niche.com because you can actually take a college quiz. It'll ask you the questions that the factors that we're talking about, and then
Mm-hmm.
it will generate a list of schools that match those factors that you're looking for. Okay, so that's really cool. Um, let's scroll majors, and so this is the biggest thing. Of course, Tony knows this. We asked this. Okay, we're like, hey, what do you think you want? Because what happens is that does guide us in a way of trying to guide you with respect to the academics and the activities.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, I do want to make sure, and this is where um there, for parents as well, I know there is that whole thing. First of all, if you're a freshman or a sophomore or even maybe even a junior or so, um, you don't have to know right now at this point exactly what major. I think we've said this many times. 80% of students that go into college change their majors. 80%. Okay. Now, I'm not saying is that means don't pick a major or don't even think about it. Absolutely. If you have an interest, you have an idea, know what you're gonna what know the that particular interest now, because you can change. Okay. But I will say is that with respect to your majors, this is the time, as I mentioned, is discovery and exploratory. Start looking and dabbling into all the different things out there as a freshman or a sophomore, a junior, or senior, and trying to figure out, what your interests. And that's where the passion and interest also lies in investigating that. Okay. You're going to be doing that even into college. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, people are doing that until they, even out of college, they're still trying to find themselves, right? Everyone hears
Mm-hmm.
that kind of phrase, but still, um, dabble into it. This is a time, especially when you're, earlier in your high school career. This is a time to really explore and find out. Okay.
I think one thing I would love to kind of do a fun little live activity real fast. If in the chat, if you guys can share like a career, right? Career,
Yeah.
drop it in the chat, and then after a quick little more words from Coach Art, I'm gonna show you guys a live experiment that I think will either blow some of your minds or Ah, yes, kind of moment. So in the chat, go ahead and drop some
Ooh, look at that doctor. Okay.
drop some careers in the chat. And then Coach Art, okay, can we start first by let's talk about can you talk about what the difference between a major and career? I think a lot of people are kind of confused between major, career, and all that. Can you kind of share some light on
Well,
that
remember,
specific one?
a major is what you're educated, what you're learning, right? That's your major, okay? But the career is what you're going to do. And those things are not necessarily synonymous. Okay. When I started in college, I was a pre-med bio major. Okay. Obviously, I'm not doing that because I got into technology as my career and then eventually this. They're not synonymous. They're not the same. Okay. There are so many people, for example, and I saw a person said doctors, there's a lawyer, there's art.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could actually, for let's say being a doctor going to pre-med, right? You don't have to be a bio major to go into
Mm-hmm.
to pre-med. I've seen students who are music majors, who are history majors that decided, you know what, I want to be a doctor, and they take the MPAT and they go in. I've seen people, you don't have to study political science or history or other things to be a lawyer. Anybody can be a lawyer because you just have to take the LSAT and go to school, right?
Yep.
The biggest thing is that first of all, we always say you got to do well in school. Okay. If you can, I'm saying is because then that does allow you to go into the higher education, master's, doctor, or whatever else. But
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't, it's fine. Still shouldn't stop you. But again, your major is what you're learning, and exploring and doing, but your career is what you do. And again, Tony, I don't know if you have more.
Yeah, no, that
Right.
you kind of got to the point of my kind of interactive today. So let's do lock doctor, right? Because yeah, another fun story.
Yeah.
My and exactly these two fields too. My roommate in college, he was a math major. He graduated math major. Today he's a lawyer, right? He
Yes.
took the LSAT and did it. And then my best friend in college, she graduates a history. Coach Art kind of mentioned history major. Today she's a pediatrician as well too. So as long as your major doesn't matter too much, let me kind of prove that to you. There's a site out there called LinkedIn. Can you guys
Yep.
see a screen? Awesome. And really quick in the chat, someone's asking for like, hey, can you share my notes? These are my notes. I saw it too. And again, every time I give you guys my notes, nothing happens. You guys have the same question. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna train you guys,
Well,
right? When it comes to learning, you guys gotta listen and do. So I dropped again the templates. If you guys don't need the template, here's a template. Make a copy for yourself. Type in my own notes. Type in your own notes as well too, so
right.
you have that, right? The cool thing, going back, the cool thing about LinkedIn is people love to brag about their jobs and their
Yeah.
careers and their history. So here, let me show you doctor. I'm gonna look up the word doctor, right? Look doctor here. I'm gonna look under people. So on this page right here, these are all doctors, right? So again, you guys don't know exactly what doctor because there's a lot of doctors here, but let's kind of just go through the first page, right? So I'm gonna open up a new tab of the first page. Actually, let's do the first. We'll stop at Jacqueline right here, right? So first one, Luis, right? This Luis is a doctor of physical therapy. As well too. Oh, look, he's a sub right now. As well too, right? So you go back, you see, oh, he's actually, this is not actually doctor, he got his doctorate as well too. So you can kind of see here, this person does physical therapy. They're gonna went to school for kinesiology, became a physical therapist. Today you can kind of see they're also a lecturer as well. Also, there are lecturers. So they're a lecturer as well to and a sub. So this is kind of what they're doing now, right? Doctor of nursing practice. So here, this person went to Irvine. Oh, let me see how fast. University of Phoenix, right? University of Phoenix, Irvine, and got her went to Fullerton for her doctorate. Today is the professor at nursing. Doctor of pharmacy. This person is a pharmacist. I think these are all like students. We might have to do like an actual title of person.
Mhm.
All right. Let's pick a specific. What's a specific doctor out there? So we can pick that.
Cardiologist.
Cardiologist. Thank you, Coach Art. Right. Cardiologist. That might be a little more direct. There you go. Drug developer. Cardiologist. All right. Let's go through five more here so you guys can see the example. Because I think when you say doctor, people, these are all like doctor students as well too, right? So cool. First one, Sean, right? Sean right here is a medical director, right, at a place, and then went to get bachelor's. Whoa, chemical engineering, Coach Art. You're
Yeah, there you
telling me
go.
that he became a doctor with a chemical engineering? Blow my mind. Then he went to Dartmouth to get the medical degree, the M Doctor of Med. Also went to get his master's, the MBA. Holy moly. The second person is a cardiologist as well, too, right? For 5 years now, right? Going back. Biochemistry, right? And that's a bio major, but biochemistry at Riverside. Coach, or how many people have said, I don't want to go Riverside
I know.
to us as well, too? This man probably makes more money than all of us combined as
But
well,
then
too,
he went to
right?
UCLA. Then he went to
And went to
UCLA.
UCLA for the med school. One little thing that will spoil is that if you plan to go to your master's, your PhD, spoilers, your undergrad doesn't matter much as well,
Right.
too. So people, it's your most recent degree that's gonna be the amplification for you. So, all right, so that's that. Next one, cardiologist. This person shared their degree. This person like wants to keep it hidden. Nope, they did it. Here we go. So they got this one did bio. So this one, Georgia State went to get bio. Then they went to Morehouse, and then Emory to get their MD. Right. So this one's like a very traditional bio path for us. Right. So that's for a lot of you guys. That's what you guys are thinking of doing as well too. The cool thing about LinkedIn, you can see that their pathway, right? Look, this person did this, then became a fellow, then became a cardiologist as well too. Next one, Ara, right? Ara works at Kaiser currently right now. In terms of chemical physics, where's the bio in that? Right? No bio. Then they got their master's in environmental epidemiology.
Epidemiology.
Thank you, Coach Art. Epidemiology as well too. Then they went to get their MD right
UCLA.
here. Then they went to get their MBA as well too, right? And then after that, what did they do? They got then you can see what they did after college, right? After college, they were a researcher. They went to Berkeley, go Bears, as a researcher, grad student. That kept doing stuff. You can kind of see their journey, their pathway here. Two more, right? This person hasn't shared much. Oh, next one, Masood, Berkeley, MCB, right? This is again very traditional pathway. Again, then went to get their medical. By the way, you guys know thing, but I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's gaps. If all the people pass there, there's gaps. There's no direct people. A lot of parents think like I get my bachelor's, then go straight to my MD. No, a lot of our interviews we've had with like doctors and people like Coach Sonia, is one of our coaches in our program. She is BSMD at Drexel. Most people, she says, in her cohort all took breaks after college. And then even some of our current coaches, right? Coach Leanne, one of our students who went through our program and gone to a tons of schools, she's fish up UCI. She's purposely planning a break because it shows the depth of you. Because again, once you start school, you don't stop is the biggest one, right? And then you can kind of see that this person kind of went the pathway. Again, they probably make a bunch of oodles of money as well too. If the money is the thing that you're aiming for. So the big takeaway of that is you got a lot of students are so focused on a certain major, a certain thing, and I'm like, no, it's just classes you take. In our example, from the five, half of them, right? Half of them were direct bio-e majors. The other half of them were not, but you can still end up as that doctor. Same thing with law school. And if you're bored, look it up, right? Look it up. Do it in your career. You will see in LinkedIn is real people. When we talk theory right now, everyone's talking theory like, oh, I think if I do bio, I could be doctor. If, lots of ifs, right? LinkedIn is here's what actual people have done. And one of the tips I have for everyone is in school, right? Teachers teach you never to copy. Don't copy. Copying's bad. One tip I'll tell you for life, if you want to succeed in life, you copy. You copy as many successful people as you can. What are they doing that I'm not doing? Right? And copy that because there's a reason they're successful, right? The LinkedIn isn't easy. People say, show me the way. There, if you want to be where they're at, their pathway got them there. So just follow them as well too. But that's my little 2 cents there. My one caveat, just to caveat out here, because again, Coach R, I don't think I've seen a scenario. The only field that I do know to become this, to become that, is engineering. Is the only field where you need to be an engineering major to become an engineer. I have yet, if you guys can find one, I would love for you to see a screenshot so I can prove that like for sure all majors can be whatever. But engineering is the one field, even computer science. You don't have to be a computer science major. Again, when you're bored, look up programmer. You'll see people, tons of backgrounds who do that as well too. Okay.
All right, I think we should get started, Tony.
Let's do it. Let's do
Ninth
it.
grade.
Man, an hour has flown by. That's crazy.
I know, that's why I'm gonna
Really
go
quick in the
shoot.
chat, you guys enjoying this? You guys liking this? Is good? You guys good? Any
Good,
So,
good, good.
yes, you guys got some hearts flowing in as well. Man, they're definitely a pro art fan.
But the
I
key
saw.
thing here, everyone, I just want, so this is what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be filling out 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And we're going to be talking about here are the things that people, our students and their families should be thinking about, should be planning. And so we created this workbook because we want you to fill this out. This is really, truly an interactive piece where we're going to give you some cues, but you should be filling this out along with us. Make a copy of this and start filling out things that are specific to you. Now,
Yep.
you can take things that we are going to be adding on here, but these are things that are specific to you. And if you're part of our families, if you're part of our um, ask us about this stuff when we're in your monthly meetings,
Hmm.
when you go to office hours.
Hmm.
This is this is like the secret sauce of getting, guidance. And of course, this is what we're going to guide you in because we're giving you, again, we're giving you the back unveiling what we go through and
Yep.
plan and provide. It's not any secret. It's that we want to give this to you so that you guys can plan. So please interactively ask us questions and we're going to start. I know the questions are going to start flowing. We have our moderator here. She's going to
Hmm.
be amazing in the sense of fielding those questions. So I say, let's get started here. Let's get
Actually,
going.
I think we missed one thing that I think might be important for this section.
Oh,
Can you talk about pathway for a little bit, Coach Art?
yes, 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 yes. Okay. So pathways. Okay, pathways. So this is the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, you know what? I want." So I'll say this in comparison to majors and then pathways or lines of education. So many say, "I want to go to business." You know, and the thing is that, or I want to go to pre-med or something like that, right? Remember, business is not a major. Okay, majors in college that are in line with business pathways are like finance, accounting, marketing, or so. Okay. If you're talking about pre med, that would be, let's say, more related biology or again, microbiology or chemistry or something like that. But there are certain educational pathways. And what we mean by that is what are the things that, what are the academics, okay, the classes that you should be taking, what are the activities that are related to that particular pathway. So for example, if you're in the computer science pathway, then what you're doing is what we will recommend is you have to have emphasis on math and in science, and also that you may be taking certain types of classes like programming classes or getting used to technology. Are you doing activities that are exposing you to that type of pathway? Okay. And so that's what we mean when we're talking about these different pathways. And when we're going through this 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, we're going to talk about those pathways. So for example, if we say ninth grade, here's what you should be doing if you want you go down the route of the STEM pathway, or if you're wanting to go down the business pathway, or if you want to go down the everything else, which is included is like all the liberal arts stuff, like let's say art, or let's say history, or so. That is what we talk about when we say educational pathways, and we're going to give you smatterings of things, different little things here and there as we go through the grades. I don't know. Go ahead and Tony, if there's
No,
anything else.
that's pretty much it. 'Cause I think the over the years, right? We prepared students their roadmaps and everything for tons of different majors, and then if you guys actually create a conglomeration of all the majors out there from all the colleges, it's in the thousands. There's so many majors out there. So how can we remember that many majors, that many pathways, and is we can because if you summarize it, it's only a few distinct ones, and we're able to manage it to only three is the biggest one. So the way you prep for like the engineering or computer science is all very similar, same way. Again, a few nuances, but very similar there. When it comes to the computer science pathway, same thing. Oh, sorry, with the STEM and business pathway, same thing. The preparation when it comes to a lot of it is the academics, right? Is very similar. Same thing with everything else. Everything else preparation academically is also very similar there. The other kind of thing I would add on to there as well too is this is also the order of how competitive it is as well too. So because a lot of our families, again, especially our younger families, I don't know, which again you shouldn't need to know yet, right? We talked about majors, right? So hopefully that point is drilled in, but you might not know what I want to do. I might want to do computer science or business. That's a very popular combination, right? So if you're unsure what to do, we always recommend aiming for the higher pathway first, right? The upper pathway first, because when you prep for the upper pathways, you're set up for the other ones. It's really easy to go from computer science to business, computer science to, let's say, history. Is very hard to go the other way. It's really hard to go from business up to computer science, a business up to sorry, like history up to computer science, the other way if it's too late. Because there are things that we're gonna be looking for in your apps to make sure that you are good to go there. Okay. That being said, we can go ahead and jump straight into 9th grade. So just really quick check. Does everyone have their docs opened up? Everyone have their docs opened up? Just drop a heart or a yes. We can go ahead and get started with this. For those of you who are in 9th grade, right? You can start. And for those of you who have done 9th grade, again, something you guys can start pre-filling now. I'm giving you guys little spoilers. Start pulling your classes. Put in your class because you've already done that. You've been there, done that. You are the veterans here. Drop your fall activities. Start dropping your activities as well too. This is a really good time to like introspectively look back and think about, hey, what did I do 9th grade year? Because again, one thing that a lot of our seniors sometimes struggle, but like they have to do is what did I do? And you have to think back every single year. If you can't, again, if you're like a sophomore or junior, freshman year is only 1 or 2 years away behind us. We can start dropping in like, here's what I did. So when you're a senior, you can use this doc to share your activities really easy. Okay. So that being said, let's go start from the very top. Looks like everyone is good to go with their doc. So
Yeah.
stop.
And
Coach
Tony,
Art,
one thing is
go
I just
ahead. Go
want to
ahead,
make
Coach
sure
Art.
is it is really important to document everything along the way, because for us, when we're helping you with your applications, even the small little things could turn into something big as part of, let's say, maybe your essay or something.
Hmm.
Okay. Because and so a lot of times you don't remember certain things that you did, but they were pivotal. They were something that could really show who you are and what you do. So it's important that you document all this. So 9th grade. Okay, this is the one thing we mentioned about and we talked about is this plan the work and work the plan.
Mm,
And I don't think, frankly, I don't know if I've seen some students that have done this, but I don't know if a lot of students have
I don't
done
think
this.
so.
But
I don't think so, Coach Art.
so we want to do goal planning and we want to say by the end of 9th grade, I will have completed. And so there are certain things that by 9th grade, you should have in place. So
Mhm.
let's kind of give examples here, Tony. So first
Sure.
of all, I would say is um, you could be specific about a couple of things. Um, Activities. Let's say activities, okay? And I know we go there,
Mhm.
but at a high level, I want to be, and this is the thing, you want to be what we call SMART goals. I don't know if you ever heard of SMART
Yeah.
goals. Anybody SMART goals? Okay, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, right? What's a SMART goal, okay? And so SMART goal, you want to set these up so that you can measure and you can see how you did against that and to achieve that goal. So let's say activities. Let's say that you want to, based on the stuff that you did, let's say that you love, uh, gosh, how do you say this? Let's say that you love computer programming. I'll
Mhm.
use that as an easy one, right? Then one of the activities could be is to join a club that will allow me to learn about how to program, how to program or create a program, right? Create a program. Let's say that. Okay. Now, if we say this, join a club that will let me learn how to create a program, but you want to put this by, you know, put a date. Always want to put a date. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to be specific, like what kind. So let's say create a Python program. Let's just say that. Let's say create a Python program, and you want to say, and what we want to be able to do is when you say measurable, okay, we're talking about measuring because we have a date and we
Mhm.
have, let's say, is that you want to be able to create a program that you can execute. Oh no, that people can use. Okay, it's a useful
Mhm.
program. Let's say useful program. Okay. Now I know this is general, but just in the sense of your goals, then you keep on going. So let's say the next one would be is let's say there is a sport, or let's say a physical goal, right? Let's say is I want to be able to uh, um, do 10 10 pull-ups by the end of the year. Okay, you see. Okay, by the end of the school year. Sorry, by the end of the school year. Okay, I know I'm kind of throwing these out here. What do you think, Tony? But
I
what
love it. And so here's two things, right? So first off, what other categories can we do, right? So let me kind of
right?
help you guys brainstorm a little bit. So again, there's a few simple ones, right? For students especially, there's the academic goals for them. Coach Art did activity goal above, as well. Two seniors, you guys can throw an application goal in there. Well, that's just ninth grade, so let's skip that for right now. We
Okay.
can probably pick a college or even major goal as well too.
Yeah, yeah,
Let
yeah,
me again, you might not decide, but
yeah,
I just do research on five, like for example, let me do research on five majors and
yeah,
see what careers, right?
yeah.
The one thing you're seeing is that there's an easy yes or no to each of these things. When our kids tell me I want to grow my club, and then so I'm like, okay, did you hit it? And they're like, no. I was like, how big's your club now? They're like, oh, I grew about 100 people. I'm like, didn't you grow it? By definition, growing means you got one more person.
Exactly.
So it has to be a yes or no, easy answer right away, right? Coaches thing. Join a club that does. If you have not done this, it's an easy yes or no. Same thing. Can you do 10? If you can only do 9, the answer is no. If you can do 10, the answer is yes, right? So very yes or no things. So this is the school side. Coach our mental physical health, right? There's also you can even think about like a mental health,
Yeah.
right, thing, right? Mental health again for everyone's a little different, right? It might just be, hey, I'm gonna take 20 minutes to just sit in silence. Right? I'm gonna take 20 minutes, I'm gonna take a nap every day. Let me practice myself to take a
Good,
little
good.
mini
Yeah.
break every single day, right? What can mental health like? How do you clear your mind? Because again, it's hard because your brain's so cluttered. Again, one of the things is calendaring, right? Hey, let me you do that. You don't have to. Your stress is on paper, so it's not in your head. But like, what are you doing? Are you just gonna meditate? Listen to music. A lot of our kids love that, right? Listen, let me just zone out, listen to music for 30 minutes a day or something like that. Some other ones you guys can consider as well too. Family goals. I'm sure you guys want to have again. Some of our kids love their families, love their brothers, their sisters, their stuff as well too, right? Set a goal. Hey, I want to have dinner with them at least like at the same time once a week, whatever, right? Friends, right? Again, we're not here to be like school, 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 school. Yes, hopefully you guys are getting the point. We want a well-balanced student, a student who's not just good in school, not just gonna be successful, but successful in life as well. Too, Coach Art mentioned all the other things that again don't even relate exactly to school, but again, it relates to them being a successful person afterwards, right? Friends is a big one. Hey, are you gonna do friends, right? Another goal you can have. Again, these are goals that you set.
Oh, here,
is
but
is
here's another one, Tony. Life skills.
life skills. Oops.
Okay. Sorry. I know fun time, but life skills.
Life skills, right? As well, too. What specific skills you want to work on? Hey, I'm gonna be better with like not stop. I'm gonna stop being late to most of my calls or something, right? I will throw in fun, right? We're
Mhm.
human. One of the big things we tell our students to do is that we call it me time, right? We tell people to do me time. Our students run fast. They run fast. They run very hard. Is the thing every single day. You can't do that sustainably because if you do that every single day, you are gonna burn out. There are going to be times projects, studying for the final. They have to do that, right? It's part of the journey. But put in the me time. Hey, I'm gonna take an hour today, or we recommend do it daily. An hour. I'm just gonna scroll TikTok. I'm just gonna watch my favorite Netflix show, Culinary Class War. For those who haven't watched it yet, definitely watch it. Right? Just to zone out and just like have some fun, right? Because that would reset you. It does raise up. Another fun goal: sleep. Set a
Ooh,
sleep
you know what,
goal.
Tony? I don't know if it's if the sharing is I can't see it
Oh,
change.
let's try it one more time. Let's try one more time. Right? Let's do. Thanks for Coach R for catching that as well too.
There you go.
Sleep goal. Right? I bet your kids don't sleep 8 hours. We recommend sleeping 8 hours. All right, or else You're not acting at, again, efficiency. Again, of course, is it gonna be 100%? No, we know life works. Life crazy stuff happens. A random pop quiz coming, they have to prep for it, right? But if you can, there's tons of different areas. Our goal is to help students set them and meet them because why? This is gonna get them the mentality of finishing what they set out to do. Right. A lot of students are just they have no clue what they're doing and they're not held accountable for a lot of these things either. Right. So
Right.
it's easy. Yes or no. Did you do it? Did you not? So it built some skills because again, this may or may not apply right now, may not apply in college, but parents, this applies in life. If your boss tells you get this paper done, this report done by Friday, you don't get it done, what happens? You're done.
Mhm.
Right? No more job for you. Right? So that's what we're trying to instill in us. So again, they set themselves. We're not setting it for them.
Right.
They're setting themselves. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna. So in realistic,
Right.
some students are very ambitious. They set really high goals. Some students are like in ninth grade. I'm just trying it out. I'm testing. Yeah, hit goals that you can hit as well too. But I definitely love this art, the idea of adding in the goal setting. All right.
Yep.
Deadlines, Coach Art. So freshman year, is there any specific dates or a specific like um
Well,
things that they need to think about in ninth grade?
yeah, so let's kind of think about this. So for those who are eighth graders, let's say, okay, when we say this is that remember when we say rising freshman, that means that you haven't started yet,
Mm-hmm.
but you are technically a freshman. So that means once you graduated from eighth grade, the day after, or literally when you receive your degree, your diploma or whatever from eighth grade, you are now a rising freshman because
Mm-hmm.
what that means is that you are considered a freshman. You just physically have not started, the first day of school. So as a rising freshman, let's start in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One thing, important dates is you got to make sure that you have your classes set for your first day of school, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times you're gonna have to talk about with with a counselor. Now, I will caveat this, and Tony, you probably, of course,
Sure.
a lot of people don't know, and we don't necessarily advocate this, but if you want to take, let's say, community college classes or dual enrollment classes, you essentially could do that as an eighth grader. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, rising freshman, but you actually need approval from your high school counselor. Okay. That means you actually have to talk to them at the high school to get that approval. That means actually you have to do that before June because a lot of times these counselors will go on break for summer, right? So if this is an important deadline, sorry, go ahead,
Really
Tony.
quick, Coach Art, can you share kind of a little bit kind of what dual enrollment is, or for those who don't
Yeah,
are
yeah,
aware of
sorry.
that?
That's a good question. So everyone, dual enrollment, what happens is basically what it is it's you're enrolled in high school, but you're also going to an addition another school as well. So for example, the typical one is a community college. Okay, that's a dual. You're enrolled in both. And so what happens here is that what we always do is we always advocate dual enrollment classes or school because especially at community college because that is considered high rigor. Okay, high rigor meaning you get the most value out of it when the community college or sorry universities or colleges look at you. And as well as is that you are getting credit for college,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is great. In opposition to, like, say, the AP exam or the APs, you have to actually take an exam to get credit. Well, with a dual enrollment class, you are taking the class at the community college, and you get if you pass, if you do well in it, of course, or you get passing grade, then you get the credit, automatically get credit. Now, mind you, there are schools out there that may not accept it. That's another thing. That's a whole other
Mm-hmm.
thing. But it's still good because it does show that you are taking on rigor. I know you're the dual enrollment expert, Tony. So
Yeah, no, I think that's and the big thing is you'll see that we like to work smart, right? That's one of our big
right,
core mantras in our coaching program. It's kind again, like I mentioned earlier, everyone's doing a lot, right? Everyone's like, I'm doing everything. My child's taking all the APs in the world and staying up to 2 in the morning every night and doing because they had no time. I'm like, why don't you make them time? Because little spoilers, the academics is probably the least important part of the entire application. So me telling you that, and if you're spending most amount of time on it that's probably not the most efficient way to go through this whole process, right? So for us is yes, Coach R mentioned, the high rigor is the key for us. We still want to make sure we're able to show the colleges we can handle the rigorous course load. At the same time, how can we do that efficiently? And that's the whole premise of kind of how we kind of work as well too. Because again, can you do everything? Go for it. You don't need us for it. Everything. Just, yeah, shotgun, do every single thing, go crazy, do all things. But are you doing the right everything there? When it comes to academics from a strategic point of view, yes, we want to maintain high rigor, but how do we reduce the time we spend on here? So in a dual enrollment class is also to add on to one more thing is that they're typically one semester, right?
Right.
They're typically one semester or half a year class you take in fall or spring. By the way, for those who are watching this live, this is a mid-October. The spring semester should be coming up very soon for your local community colleges. But
Right.
it's only half a year. And the cool thing is that if you pass the half a year class, it counts as a full year in high school. Because if you want, like this is getting geeky again. We're getting a little geeky right now, right? A community college 1 unit class is equivalent to a high school 3.3 high school credits. When you look at your college classes that you're signing up for, typically they're 3 units. 3 units is 10 high school credits. I don't know if you guys have looked at your classes or not, but every semester is 5 high school credits, meaning an AP class is 10 high school credits. Haha, I can take a 1 semester college class, which counts as a class. Little fun pro tip. I'm skipping a little bit, maybe not, because some kids might do it. It's ninth grade year as well too. Language, right? Really quick in the
Right.
chat, what languages is your child doing or have done
Yes,
in
foreign
high
language. What
school?
is it? Let's hear it. Let's hear
Yeah,
it.
what languages are you
Spanish,
taking at the school? Like at your school is that as
Japanese.
well too. So we're seeing Spanish, Japanese, French, Mandarin, ASL, very cool. Espanol, right? Very cool, right? So again, you're taking languages. There's a few years you need, right? I think for those of you in California, the minimum is 2 years. If you're applying to a UC, we recommend 3 years. Some schools require more. If you're especially a linguistics major and stuff like that as well too. Fun little facts. Let me show you guys a fun little example, right? About languages. This is a little pro tip for you guys, for free knowledge right here, right? So you gotta take like 2 years of Spanish, right? So Spanish 1, 10 credits. Spanish 2, 10 credits, right? That's what you need. Let's go a little hardcore. Let's take 3 years of Spanish, 10 credits, right? This is 3 years of Spanish, right? You take 9th, 10th, 11th grade, for example, right? 3 years of Spanish there. What if we did this at community college? Let's say we took our, to make it a little more clear, let's call this year 1, let's call this year 2 and year 3. So if we take Spanish 1, which is the 1 semester class, right? 1 semester community college class, this gets you 5 units. Look it up, right? These classes are 5 units long. Huh. Let's do the math real fast. Every 1 unit is 3.3. That means 5 units is 16.5 high school credits. Holy moly, that 1 semester class counts for a year and a half of Spanish. What if you take Spanish 2? The second semester, right? 1 semester at community college, another 5 unit class, right? Meaning you spent a year. In fall, you took Spanish 1. In spring, you took Spanish 2. This is another 16.5 high school credits. So
Okay.
mathematically, in one physical year, like one, not a physical, literal year, one school year, right? One school year is equal to 10 units is equals to 33 high school credits, 3 years of Spanish equivalents. So you're able to finish your entire Spanish or your entire language requirement, including the recommended third year, in one physical year by doing Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Japanese 1, Japanese 2, Mandarin 1, Mandarin 2, right? And then that means it frees you up year 2, year 3 to do other things. When we talk
Right.
about working smart, that's what we think about, right? How do we make our schedule more efficient so we can do more things to make us look better in the admissions process?
And what
Right.
I've seen, Coach Tony, is that in the summertime, this is one of the things that I would say you could do
Mm-hmm.
is you could have your rising freshmen enroll over the summer and take Spanish 1 at the
Mm-hmm.
community college
100%.
so that what happens now is they can do one of two things. They could take it during and community. They could either do that Spanish one and then go maybe take a year in high school, or they can continue on, okay, in the fall, and they can take Spanish 2 in community college, as you know, in the evenings, because a lot of actually a lot of parents don't realize, because they say, oh my gosh, how are they going to do it at the community college level? Guess what? There's online.
Mm-hmm.
There is online asynchronous. Now, everyone doesn't realize this, but I'm going to drop a little knowledge here. You can either go physically live,
Mm-hmm.
you could be online live, meaning online, and then you have to attend a class that is with a professor at a certain time, which is synchronous, or you can go online asynchronous. And a lot of times, university have done this, or offer this, where they record their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then now you can watch the recording of the class anytime you want to. So this gives you a lot of flexibility. So online async is one that's amazing and it's credible, because then it gives you flexibility in your schedule. But that's one thing in the summer that they could do, that I could say is recommending. Another thing, and I don't know, Tony, what you think about it. We should, you and I are talking here, is that
Yeah, go ahead.
with sometimes I've seen students that do math, because if they're looking for engineering, let's talk about the pathways
Sure.
engineering, and you want to get ahead, because one of the things that we always say, if you're going to be doing the STEM or engineering path, right, is you want to maximize your math. So here's a 4-year university goal. I mean, I guess a high school goal is that by the time that you finish graduating from high school, and this is currently now, I don't know how it's going to be in 4 years. My gosh, Tony, it might be crazy.
My gosh.
But you want to be from an engineering, computer science, a STEM major, let's say, you want to be at least a calculus BC or even higher. I've seen students taking now calculus 3, right, which is multivariable
Correct.
calculus. Well, if you need to look at your school and see, do they offer these type of classes? If not, this is where you plan this out from 9, 10 to 11, 12. And we're going to talk about that today, is if you need to get ahead of this, or you
Mm-hmm.
need to be a more, advanced path, then you might be able to take, let's say, a math one, or a math one, area geometry, something like that, in a community college. And then what happens is that kind of springboards you into math. Okay. As long as the student is capable of doing that. I am not
Correct.
encouraging that you advance yourself. I am not. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. But I've seen students who are really uber amazing at math.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to challenge them, they could do that. So in the sense of the summer classes, now there are other classes, yes, history class and everything else. But again, I am not advocating students taking classes at the community college level before high school, before
I
that,
agree. I agree.
because
I
let them
think
have
it's
fun.
very, very exceptions, right? It's
It
very
is.
few exceptions. Again, one thing I'll share, because this is me speaking because I care about everyone here.
Yeah, I agree.
We think your kids are special. No, as well too. I think I've seen enough students to know, yes, this kid is awesome. They're all right though, compared to a lot of, I think again, as parents, I can, again, just a cat that I'm proud of my two cats, but right, we're really proud of our own students. But then here's where one fun element comes into everything, right? Self-awareness. I think that's one of the, if there was a skill that I come into high school, that's how I think of now. Self-awareness is a really huge skill throughout life, but not just now, but like life in general, right? Is that we say I want to go to Harvard. Do you know what Harvard means? I want to go to UCLA. Do you know what UCLA means? And the kids who understand that and they perform there, yes, awesome. But the one false expectation a lot of people have is like, I want to go to Harvard. I'm scared to take an AP class. I want to take a regular class. You know, that teacher's hard. I'm like, do you know how hard Harvard professors are, right? You know how hard these top school professors are? They don't even speak English, a lot of them. Their accent is so thick that you can barely understand them, that you end up having to read the book by yourself once you get there. So the big thing is, again, this is just us working in admissions for so long. zoom out. Like the one ask I have for families is that let's zoom out a little bit. Let's play out what's going to happen. We've seen it. Our kids come back to us. They tell us how hard high school or college was. High school was nothing compared to that. And there are our superstars who I had a student. He's acting at UPenn right now. He used to wake up at 3 in the morning to take classes in Asia because the classes he wanted to take weren't offered in the US. So he took a class, he immersed himself. Crazy. I told him he was crazy. Worth it though. He's the type of student who loves that. He geeked out as well too. He's thriving now because that's the caliber of him. Most students would not. I'll tell you for a fact, I would never do that. So too, I do not have that much discipline. I do not. If I went back to school now, I would not apply to the Ivies. I'm not the type of person. I might not even apply to a lot of the top UCs either, because again, it's a different caliber of level. Self-awareness is huge. I think that's the big thing that Coach Art kind of shared right now is like, hey, if we know the student is, and as coaches, if we know you're capable, let's just try it. Let's do it. But if you're like, I'm scared to take everything, and then your grades reflect it, that's the thing too, right? Your grades reflect that behavior that you're saying. Then let's real talk a little bit. Let's real talk. Let's figure out what we can do, right? Let's figure out what we can do to make everything make sense as well too. Love it. Yeah, I think to chime on Coach's explanation here, engineering computer science BC minimum is definitely and I think Coach R, if we I think what might be useful also if we can do a little like a similar breakdown for each of the other pathways, just like a heads up that we can kind of fill it in a little faster. So ninth grade I think will take a little longer because we try to go through a lot of the higher level
Sure.
concepts too. But
Sure.
like Coach R mentioned, BC minimum is the huge thing. A lot of our students, by the way, we do work with a lot of high end students who are applying to engineering computer science. We are recommending Calc 3, linear algebra, and differential equations. The algebra and differential equations. They don't offer this at the high school level. This is
Right.
at community college. Some high schools do. We learned some high schools do this past year that are starting to they're starting to add it, which is if they're starting to add it, it's becoming a thing. Is the
Exactly.
biggest thing. And usually we've learned that our kids in the Bay Area and our kids in the Northeast area, their schools are the first to usually innovate in an upward way. So if those schools are doing it, we are predicting that other schools may be following suit in the next few years as well too. So that's definitely that. The other big ones, if you're interested in engineering, physics, right? Physics is going to be the big thing that you want to focus on there too. And again, keeping in mind these, the one thing I would add as a little sharing, again, another life skill, being resourceful, right? When you tell, hey, you got to take physics, but my school doesn't offer any physics. I'm like,
Exactly.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And you want to go to Harvard as well too, right? Students who are aiming for your schools, they are resourceful, right? Parents in your job, if your boss asks you to do something and you're like, I'm not sure how to do that, you're not gonna ask questions nonstop. You're gonna let me figure it out, right? That's being resourceful. Cool. You gotta do physics. If your school doesn't offer it, which again, a lot of schools don't, they offer like one class, right? Because then we know this because we work with a lot of students. Let's think outside the box a little bit. There's opportunities like the UC Scout, there's opportunities BYU, Silicon Valley. There's these online institutions that do offer opportunities for us to do this. Okay, Coach Art, you want to chime in for STEM and business?
Well, again, STEM and business are kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why that we talk about STEM and business in this way is because yes, it's the coursework, and I would say is that with STEM and well, STEM because STEM there it's funny because we say STEM, there's engineering in there already, but math and science, but it's the same thing. You want to have Calc BC minimum, right? If but you want to if it's the case of um or I mean I don't know Tony if you've seen this, but you could well no STEM I would say is Calc BC minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yes.
say that from an engineering standpoint or I would say is the biologic there's so the sciences the physical sciences,
Mm,
okay, and though and that's where the physical sciences and you're talking maybe of AP bio AP chem AP physics right
right.
now but why we say this, and I want to make sure everyone understands this, even as say, let's say business wise. Well, let me finish this up. Business, we can talk about econ, economics. Okay,
Mm,
that's one big thing that you can do there as well. Um, and remember, there are two pieces to this. A lot of people say, well, business. Well, why do I need to have Calc BC and why do I
Yeah.
need the sciences or whatever? It's not because you're necessarily going to be using those, but what we're doing is that we're positioning you for the schools that you may be
Correct.
going for. If you are going to go to, let's say, Stanford, you're going to be, what they're looking for is, are you prepared to take on the college level coursework? And so let's say in the AP curriculum, let's say AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics, let's say Calculus, AP Calc, if you are able to do well and or one, take those classes and do well in those classes, then that is an indication that you can take on the college level coursework because those are the ones that are the more difficult ones in the
Mm-hmm.
AP curriculum.
Correct.
Okay, or any equivalents in the community college level. So that's where when we're talking about STEM and business, you're talking about again. That's why we ask to do these type of classes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
in order to one make sure that you show that you have rigor and you can take it on in the college, but two also specifics of that particular. So that's why business, econ, um, mathematics we have a cover, engineering there might be some engineering pathways at your school that
Mm.
that you can that you can take right. I've seen this a lot with schools now. They are now doing these particular pathways. So they're
Yeah.
doing engineering pathway, business pathway. I've seen even gosh, some very let's say even medical pathway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so those are good. Okay, those are good. Are they 100% necessarily? No, but a lot of the schools are mandatory anyway. So heck, might as well do
Correct.
it. And the
Correct.
schools will look highly on that. They will because they'll see that you're prepared to be able to take on that coursework, right? Um, and
Love
then
it.
sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No, I think one quick comment before we jump into everything else, which is actually be a fun one. The one comment, if you notice, what R kept mentioning was classes, classes,
Right,
classes.
right.
That's the key. A lot of people are like, oh, what if I just take the AP exam and pass it? Am I
Oh,
good? No, because that shows how good of a test taker you are. That's
that's
it,
right.
right? So, in theory, someone with a photographic memory can show up night before, look through the book, show up to a test, get a
That's right.
perfect score because they just know the material that
That's
way.
right.
The what college you're looking for is rigor. Again, you can do good at one test, right?
Hmm.
But can you? It's like the idea of a sprint. You can sprint like really good, but
Right.
the college is a marathon. Is the best analogy, right? College is a marathon. They want to see can you make it the whole way because some sprinters are good at the very beginning, then they just crash right after the
That's
five
right.
mile mark. We want to show that hey, I can run the whole marathon, and if once I go to your school's marathon, I can do the same. And that's the mentality we want to do. So classes is the big key, not just the exam. The exam just again perks, extra perks to get college credit. But the big key here is the classes. All right, Coach Art,
Yeah,
the
and
everything
that's
else.
the reason why we say, dual enrollment or community college classes
Mm-hmm.
versus APs. A lot of students have asked me that. Oh, Coach Art, can I just, I'm going to just sit for the exam. Well,
Yep.
that's great, but you're getting credit, and some schools don't even accept credit.
Yep.
So now why are you doing it? But secondly, is they're not looking for you to do a test. They're looking to see if you took on the rigor over
Exactly.
a year. Were you able to sustain and take on that rigor? And you did well on it. So the one thing with everything else, so this is where everything else is when you're talking about the liberal arts type of
Mm-hmm.
classes, right? The history, the sociology, the arts, all of that, right? So do we require that you have high math? No, you don't need to have high math, but again, probably what do you think, Tony? Calc AB possibly, right? So
The farthest you can, right? So it's one of those things that the
exactly,
farthest you can as well. Just a fun little comment on that really quick is that schools are starting to revamp how they define higher level math
right.
as well too. Like UC's or one of the first schools to release that stats is no longer a upper level math
It's
anymore
not.
and stuff. So like that's why like they prefer actually if you had the choice, do pre-calc over stats because stats won't do much. They actually
That's right.
dropped it. And if you're bored, look it up. We're not making it up. Google UC they call it the new math policy. Doesn't mean you can't take it, right? So don't treat it like you can't do it. You can still do it. I'm sure again, it will probably apply for a lot of the majors as well too. But in terms of rigor, right? In terms of rigor, they and those who have done stats before, it's 10 equations that you memorize and then you just plug over and over and over and over and over again. So it's like it's a very fancy algebra 2 classes. It's the best analogy coming from a foreign math teacher, math major. That's what it is. It's a very fancy algebra 2 class that you just repeat the same equation over and over and over again versus there's not a lot of breadth and like complex problem solving skills. So like if you can do pre-calc, if you can go for that calc as well too, right? Just to show like, hey, and it's not again, it's not the class, it's the rigor. It's like, hey, I'm taking the class, I'm doing my best, and this is where I'm performing as well too.
Yeah, I will say, Tony, and this is and I know we keep on going, but again, this is free form, right? One thing is that students will say, "Oh, you know what? I'm an engineering, or I'm STEM or something like that." They go through all this stuff, and then they take AP Stats on their senior year, and I
Yep.
say, "Why are you doing that?" Because the schools are looking at you, and then they're saying, "Why are you taking a lower math?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now there is nothing wrong, I'm just saying, is with taking AP Stats. One, it's an
Correct.
AP course. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going along lines of STEM or engineering or something related, they want you to remember trend is always going up. If you're
Exactly.
going this and you're doing calculus, then all of a sudden you do AP Stats in the senior year, it doesn't make any sense
Mm-hmm.
because you're taking a lower level math. Now, the only condition that I say with that is if your school requires you to take math in high school, you're taking Calc 3, let's say, in a community college in your senior year, then
Mm-hmm.
take AP Stats because then you're
Correct.
still doing the math requirement for your high
Exactly.
school, but you still want to do Calc 3, which is,
Correct.
again, multivariable calc, linear algebra in the community college class. So, one thing there, math, farthest you can, absolutely. Pre-calc is a good thing, because it just shows you that you're doing more than what is expected, right? Than just the minimum level. Okay. And then as for, I mean, really, again, Tony, everything else, it's really just trying to maximize, right? All the
Exactly.
other classes.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, remember, if you're in arts, or some type of physical art, or I'm sorry, digital art, or music or so, remember that you're gonna have to have a portfolio ready when you go into college. They're going to ask you for one. So you want to think about these things along the way, over the course of your 4 years, of what kind of portfolio you want to put together. It doesn't mean you have to have it right now and this is your freshman, but you got
Mm-hmm.
to start thinking about that because they'll normally ask for about 10 to 12 pieces of things.
Correct.
Or if you're a singer, you have to have some examples of your singing. So you want to keep that in mind so that you have these things readily available for you. So you're not rushing your senior year to do these things and then you don't have your best work. Okay, so that's a couple thing with the arts. Um, let's see. But again, I think that's from a class perspective, right?
No, I think
Got
that,
everything to cover,
that's
Tony?
perfect. I think we covered all that.
Okay,
Awesome. So
cool.
going back really quick to the
So let's go
academics
fast then
to
on
finish through it so
academic.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's
I
go.
think by the way, in terms of the free flowing, the ninth grade we spent a lot of time because a lot of it's gonna be just like bled
Set
throughout
up.
everything
Yes,
else.
exactly.
So I do think it's gonna speed through as we go through the process as well too.
Okay, academics wise. So one thing with summer I would say is yes, you could do community college in Spanish. You might, again, we could say math, but fall, so yeah, see Spanish too. Your standard, okay, so this is the one thing I will say with respect to academics.
Mm,
If you are able to take an AP in the fall, normally what I've seen is AP Human Geo. Now, a lot of schools don't, I've seen this more often that a lot of schools don't allow you to take an AP your freshman year,
yep.
which makes sense because they want you to, be okay with um get just settling in and oriented. I get it.
Correct.
But AP Human Geo is probably the easiest class
Mm-hmm.
out there. It really literally is. And so that's a really good introduction. If you could do it, great. Again, we're trying to give you a little bit of a perspective on academic. Now, one thing here is with math, again, I think we're talking about, like, say, the English, CS, STEM, and biz math. At this point, Tony, what do you think? You're probably taking a minimum like a
This,
math one?
oh yeah, so this is one. So that's why I'm curious how we want to share this on this doc because
Yeah.
I think this might be a plug in your own answer kind of
Right, it is. It
situation
is. Yeah.
because math is where everyone's a little different when it
Right.
comes to where they're starting. Because some again, to put some context, some a little more context about math, right? So when it comes to math. There's kind of two systems of math currently right now. There's like the integrated math series, right? The IM Math 1, 2, and 3, right? And then the other version, like the traditional, right? Algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like the typical sequence. A few comments on this really fast. So it doesn't really matter which one's kind of what your school ends up doing. You just gotta go with that. The most important thing is getting geometry completed. Right. So this is a note for anyone interested in UCs. So if you're applying to a UC school, geometry is a non-negotiable, meaning geometry is a must, right? Algebra 2. So in math, you can validate. So let's say you skipped algebra 1 and you lied, you didn't take algebra 1. But if you took algebra 2, that will make up credit for algebra 1 for you. You take calculus, it'll make up credit for pre-calculus. So that's how you're able to skip math classes, because you can, if you pass it further along, it'll backtrack and give you credit for all the previous ones. The only class that doesn't get you track, no class validates, is geometry. And for UCs, that is a must. It's literally in the print of the section area 3 of like, you have to do 3 years of math, 4 years recommended. Geometry is a must. That's literally the verbiage of that section itself. For those of you in the integrated, that's math 2. I am math 2, right? That's the 2 levels there, right? So a lot of you guys, again, let's say some of our students do start, I would say, with geometry. I think because a lot of our students kind of are in geometry. Some of our students do algebra 2. We do have some students in algebra 1 as well too. So again, so it's not the end of the world for any of the situations. It depends where you at. Again, if you're engineering CS, I would love the further you are along algebra 2, let's aim for that if you can. Versus if you're in geometry, that's fine too. But again, further along, and again, with everything else, it's okay to start with algebra 1. It's not bad. You can still, again, just go the fastest you can.
If we
Is the
think about
biggest
this,
thing there.
Tony's, and so just for everybody, again, I know we're kind of like going from 9th to 12th, but this is kind of
Yeah.
the one of the setups, because it is the case in 9th grade. If you think about the path for math, right? The path for math, that's a rhyme there, right?
I like it.
Is if you start with algebra 1 freshman year, think about that's a year, right? If you start and then you go, the next year is geometry, and then the junior year it's algebra 2. That means that you've spent 3 years in that standard path, and then you start pre-calculus. You're not going to have enough time. It goes pre-calculus, then it goes calculus AB, calculus BC, and then calc 3. So let's just say we're kind of going through that path, right? There's not enough years to fit all of that in, right?
Correct.
So where you do this is either you're taking summer classes at the community college to accelerate this and get this through, or like we said is or you are starting sooner. Like, say, for example, I've seen freshmen that are taking geometry freshman year because they've done algebra 1 maybe in middle school, or that, right? Or what you do now is that you take, remember how we said, because it's only semester courses at community college, what I've seen students do is they take, let's say there was this, they take pre-calculus. You want to see if you can get pre-calculus by sophomore year, if you can. That's usually the ideal. Or if you take pre-calculus your junior year, then what you're doing now is you're kind of accelerating calculus by doing it summer, or you're doing the calculus route in community college now. So you can do Calc 1 the summer of before your senior year, Calc 2 this fall of your senior year, and then Calc 3 the spring of your senior year. That is pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But if people are good at math, it's fine. But what the ideal situation is, if you can do pre-calculus in your sophomore year, then now you have some room. You see what I mean? So you have some room. Is that, what do you think, Tony? Is that
No, I think that's super solid. So let me kind of map out a few scenarios. I think that might help a lot more, because again, this is the one where it gets flexible, and we can predict, what with our own students, we kind of predict like, here's best case scenario. But let's see how you do though, because again, it depends on where, again, students who do start earlier, it's a little less stressful, because oh cool, if we have a little situation, we can still catch up. It's students who are starting a lot lower and they need to go farther. That's where we can make really fast moves and figure out
another thing, Tony, sorry that I just
go
said.
ahead,
So a lot of students or families don't realize is that you can skip Calc 1.
Correct.
You could skip AB and go to B because remember, AB, calculus AB is included in calculus BC. It's a section part, but the thing is that you either your school has it where you've taken, let's say, I think it's like advanced pre-calculus or something like that,
Correct.
and so now you go into BC,
Hmm.
or you can test out
Correct.
and go into BC. So that's another thing is then you take one less class out, which is calculus one, which is at
Hmm.
community college, or AP calculus AB, which is in the high school. All right, or
Exactly.
UC Scout. So
Yeah, 100%. I think the one thing about, so for to share some context as well too. So BC is like accelerated AB plus BC. So how you want to
exactly.
think? So I don't know why the AP does this, but just for context,
I
Calc
know.
AB is calculus one, right? Is for typical old school us. We know by one, two, and three. So AB is calculus one. Calc BC is not calculus two. Calculus BC, the reason why it's so hard is because it's calculus one review plus two, not review, sped up. So basically,
Right.
you learn this from what, August to June, right?
Right.
You learn Calc 1 from August to November, and then from
Exactly.
December to June, you learn 2, right? That's how it's set up mathematically in the
Right.
curriculum. If you actually look at the curriculum, that's how it's set up. You learn everything in half the time as well, too. So it's really, really accelerated.
Yeah.
So that's why BC feels harder and feels so fast, is because you're learning two classes in one, but almost like a college class, because first semester is
Right.
Calc 1, second semester is Calc 2. But yeah, Coach Art listed a few scenarios. I think they're awesome. So yeah, so first one is like generic, start from Algebra 1. Again, try to avoid that if you can. But again, I have this doesn't count summer, or kind of towards the end, but like
Right. Exactly.
some of the things is geometry. You start geometry first, algebra 2. You do pre-calc by junior year. Then in theory, that the crazy one is summer, senior year. Take calc 1, fall, take calc 2, spring, take calc 3. Again, I don't recommend that either. It's
I don't either.
craziness, right? If you can help it. Some of our juniors, you don't have a lot of options as well too, right? We'd recommend that for you. But if you're like a prepping, if you can get to algebra 1, 2 now, look how easy this makes it. Then you can take pre-calc your sophomore year. You can take calc BC your junior year. Then take Calc 3 in summer, linear algebra in fall, differential in the spring, right? It's a lot more doable as well, too. Again, some of our kids even start with pre-calculus. That even saves them in the extra year. They can even super slow down the rest of
Right.
the journey as well, too. So again, it's the sooner you can, and again, the top is more for the everything else majors. The bottom is more for the engineering CS majors as well. So
Right.
that's kind of the metric you want to look at.
So Tony, let's kind of go back up here in the fall. Now, the rest of these, what typically what students are going to be doing, that's math. Now, typically a lot of freshmen are taking biology.
Mm,
I'm just going to talk the science route now.
yeah, let's look science.
So let's talk about the science route. For ninth grade, normally they're taking biology. And remember how we talked about, and again, I understand about if you're not a STEM major, but a lot of the students here are science or STEM related,
Mm-hmm.
but this also can apply to the everyone else. With respect to science, there are prerequisites for, let's say we're assuming that you want, by the time you graduate, you want to have AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics.
Right.
Let's just assume that for now. In order to take AP Bio, you need to have some type of bio requirement, prerequisite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it could be regular bio or AP bio or bio honors. If you want to do chemistry, you have to do honors chem or chem. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but for physics, and I don't know this, Tony, for you, but there is no prerequisite for physics.
No.
Okay, but normally what they do is they recommend that you should take a chemistry and bio before you take physics.
Correct.
Okay, so how it normally lasts, or how it outlines here, is for the ninth grade, normally students will take bio. So then what happens is in your freshman year, when you take bio, you could conceivably take AP bio at some point in your sophomore, junior, senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Then your sophomore year, you're taking chemistry. Then you would take chemistry, AP Chem, somewhere between again, your junior, senior year. And then typically you're taking physics your senior year. That's the outline of what I've seen is a suggested way of doing this. Now, the one thing that we normally see in this is the little caveat here for everybody that's listening, is that with respect to chemistry, a lot of time people will ask, well, Coach Art, what should I take if I can't take all three?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the order of this, usually AP Bio to AP Chemistry to AP Physics, that's in the order of difficulty as well. AP Physics is normally the hardest. Chem
Correct.
is the second hard. Biology is they're all AP courses, so they're difficult.
Mm-hmm.
If you are thinking of, and for you tell me, Tony, because again, I
Sure.
think this is the first time we actually talked about this together.
Yeah.
I would say is okay, fine. If you're not necessarily going into a strictly a biology major or so, something like
Mhm.
that, then take chem and physics because those are the hardest to show you rigor. But the thing is that remember is that you have to go ahead and you have to have that prerequisite of chem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or if you want to make it a little bit lighter load but still get it, then do bio and physics or bio and chem. You could do that too.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think my thoughts is it will go back to your
Your
intended
yeah,
pathway,
pathway, right?
your pathway. I think the pathway, right? So
Pathway.
in terms of three pathways, so again, the roadmap's fun because again, you guys are plug in your own answers. Again, that's why feel free to
Yes.
shoot questions in the chat so we
Yeah.
can kind of like play with you and see what scenarios makes a lot of
Right.
sense. There's no real wrong answer. Again, the reason why it's fun, like why Art and Coach Art and I geek out with this, there's not a single answer. That'll be
There
boring.
isn't.
That'll be boring. Like here's the answer. It's different for every single student based on so
Mm-hmm.
many different factors, right?
Mm-hmm.
But tips, so but then there's frameworks though. That's why we are able to like, hey, let's be consistent though with how we've been helped to successful. So if you're in engineering and CS, I would say physics is priority, chemistry is next
Yes,
priority,
that's
is the
right.
biggest one, right? If you're doing STEM business, yeah, I wouldn't say business, bio, chem is pretty much where you want to
Yep.
lead. You need physics. You don't need
No
physics.
need physics.
You
No,
can have physics if you want to,
that's right.
right? As well, and same thing with the everything else, right? As well too, you want to lean towards, I would say, the easier sciences as well too,
That's
because
right.
you probably don't need. And just keep in mind, the three sciences are very different in the sense of like a general good way to think about it is bio is a very memorization based class,
That's
right?
right.
You just learn a bunch of stuff, you got to memorize, you regurgitate. That's pretty much
Mhm.
what bio is, right? Physics is the other extreme where you do math. That's why it's harder because you need more advanced math to
That's
be
right.
able to do because some of the things that you learn is gravity and there's a bunch of equations and
Right.
some of your physics classes involve calculus involved in it as well too. So you need a higher level of math to be able to understand the true depth of physics. That's why physics is usually offered later on,
Yeah.
right? With like a higher math. Chemistry is the fun, like younger brother of everyone, of like it's
Exactly.
a memorization plus math is the best analogy. You have to memorize certain things, the periodic table, but there's elements like stoichiometry where you do actually do equations with balancing chemicals and stuff like that.
That's right.
There is math involved, right? Not as much math as the physics, but there's still some basic math. Like if you don't know math, you are gonna suffer in chemistry. So because understand that's kind of the general framework, right, of these classes. So when it comes to setting up your schedule, again, we want you to max out as much as you can.
That's right.
The exact how would depend on also the opportunity. Some schools again don't offer it, which means we may have to look into online opportunities for some of these. Again, a lot of the engineering CS students we work with, I think like over 50% of our students are computer science students and engineering
I
students
know.
as well too. We're going to push a lot of the physics, and a lot of schools don't offer physics. So cool, let's take it out of UC Scout and BYU. They also offer additional physics one, physics two, physics E&M, all these different level of physics. Your school might not offer because again, there might not be enough demand for it, but there's other opportunities too. Is
So
it
Tony and I just
go
to give
ahead?
everybody a framework and maybe I think this is what our discussion is turning into is more towards 9, 10, 11, 12 in the
I
pathways.
like it. Yeah, for sure, for
But the
sure.
thing is this is that if you think about the path, if you want to take all three, what
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to do is biology freshman year, chemistry sophomore year, and
Mm-hmm.
then what happens here is your junior and seniors where you make this determination of do you want to
Correct.
do physics, chem, physics, bio, whatever it is. But if you're gonna try to take all three, then what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna either have to, if your school allows you to take two sciences, you're either gonna have to, I would always say
Correct.
is biophysics or biochem, but
Correct.
not chem physics, because those are really hard.
That's both math. They're both math
Those
heavy
are there's
classes.
both. I mean,
Yeah.
you're overloading yourself. But I would say is what I've recommended is you either do AP Bio your junior year, and then maybe you can do in the summer you take AP Chem UC Scout, or you flip those. You either do
Mm-hmm.
AP Chem your junior year, and then you do AP Bio during the summer at
I
UC
like that.
Scout,
I like
and
that.
then you do AP Physics in your senior. Now, this is the one caveat, and I keep saying caveat, sorry. one thing remember, there are 3 AP physics classes,
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, and C.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are engineering wise, I've seen students that take 1, 2, and C. There's actually where in high schools I've seen where they've combined 1 and 2. It's called AP Physics B. I've
Oh,
seen that,
interesting.
or AB, where they
Hmm.
they have them
Mhm.
combined into 1 year, which is physics 1 and 2. And
Right.
then there's also physics C. Physics C is with calculus. That's why the C is designated calculus. That is, from what I've heard and what I've seen, and is the hardest AP class.
One of the hardest for
One
sure.
of the hardest in the
Yeah.
curriculum. And so, but if you can do that, especially if you're in engineering, highly suggest that you go physics C if you can do it. But
Mm-hmm.
remember, you need calculus. And so that's where you think about the organization wise, that means you got to be at least at Calc AB in your junior year to take,
Correct.
or MBC to take calculus, I mean to take physics C. So from a 9th grade perspective, everybody, I know we're kind of like, if we go down, or if we go to the, let's kind of finish this off, if we're going to go for 9th grade, the sciences, we already talked about all about sciences, that it's up to you in the sense of science, but typically it's usually biology that
Mm-hmm.
that the high schools will offer. Typically, that's not, I have not, I've seen I've seen some do physics, but no, but usually it's biology. Now the rest, English and oh, sorry, Tony, do you have something?
No. I don't want to throw in a caveat. The reason why we throw so many caveats is again, we're trying to create a universal one for as
Yeah, I
many
know it's kind of
people as
hard.
we can.
Exactly.
However, if you guys are interested, little subtle plug real fast. If you guys are interested in booking a free 15-minute coaching call with our
Yes.
team, they can kind of help you guide a little more clarity. And those of you guys who have this template, go to the top. You guys can book a chat with our team for that. But going back here, I think the thing is, keep in mind, we again, this is just the typical sciences, right? Some schools even
Right.
offer more
Yes.
sciences than this specifically. Also, like
Yes.
really quick, can I get someone's high school in the chat? For those who are here live, can you drop your high school's name? By the way, in California, if you're in California and drop your high school's name, so that specific condition, right? I see
Okay,
first
there
one,
you go.
Westmont.
Westmont High School.
The reason why I asked for that is if you guys go to what's it called? A through G articulation. There we go. A through T articulation, and you type in the school's name here, right? Westmont High, Westmont
Ooh, this is
High.
good knowledge here, guys. Listen to this one.
And
This
you
is
go
really
with the
good.
course list, right?
Yes.
This is the course list for your school. So let's go skip to science real fast. This is area D, right?
Uh-huh.
So you can see that we talked about the main ones, which is AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics. However, here's where it gets very fun. Again, all the caveats happen here, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's environmental science. What if you are like bio, but you also like
Mm-hmm.
environmental? Then we say, cool, let's tweak, let's maybe take out physics and plug environmental science in there. We call it APES, right? This
Mm-hmm.
school apparently you also offer agricultural biology. That's a really cool thing. So let's say you are
Mm-hmm.
interested in agriculture, right? That might be a fun, interesting thing to think about as well. And you can see they broke it down for you. This is a physics version class. You can do agricultural physics, right? So like, and depending on what type of act, so then this is where it gets fun for us, right? There's
Yes.
fire. Your school offers fire. That's kind of cool. Fire science. As well. There's EV, right? Future Tesla owners right there, right? So all this stuff there. Computer science is a big one. Mechatronic. What a fun word.
Yeah.
Mechatronics engineering. So you see how and here's the pathway that Coach Art shared earlier about the different
Right.
pathways as well too. So when it comes to the exact setup, right? Keep in mind we're giving you frameworks, right? We're giving you a lot of frameworks because if we had to create one for one size fits all for every single student in every single school with every single scenario, we can't. We'd be here for literally years just to if this, boom, 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 if this, boom, 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 boom. Our goal is to teach you how we think, right? So then that's the big thing. So you guys can plug it for yourself again, or
Tony, can you write that in there, articulate? Because
yeah, let's do it.
that's
Let's do it.
amazing. So I'm saying, can you write, yeah, the site? Because I think
Mhm.
everyone you see, if for example you're not, with our service, this is what we do. You're seeing the back end here. This is what we do, and we're looking at and helping you all. But for those who are not with us, or those, this is amazing. This is really great information because this allows to see what are the classes that are available, and that will help you along the way from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. We're just trying to give you get ahead of that schedule, right? So,
Exactly.
okay. So now, if we just finish it off, English is standard English. You're normally not going to have
Mhm.
any advanced English
Oh,
in your 9th grade. And then history or social sciences, you're normally not going to have an advanced history. a typical history, and we don't necessarily. So this is the thing. I don't suggest that you go crazy with advanced courses in your freshman year, and the reason why is
Hmm.
because you're still getting oriented.
Yep.
Unless you're like this incredible student that has advanced even in middle schools, first of all, remember how we talked about it's exploratory and discovery. Make sure that yes, take some advanced coursework if you can your freshman year, but it's not necessary. Like you're not going to be behind if you don't take advanced coursework, okay? But we do want to start accelerating your sophomore, junior, and senior year, in order to get to that level of rigor. But history, English, math, science, and then you probably will have maybe possibly an elective, so you're going to do some type of elective. But oh, and then
Mm.
sorry, and then you're now this is where Tony, when he dropped the amazing insight about foreign language, you
Hmm.
can do foreign language if you want to. But if your school allows you to, and this is one thing that was a genius thing that Tony said that I didn't even realize when I started here, is yes, doing the community college route. My gosh, if you can do that and get it out of the way, then do it. But normally students will take a foreign language, something like that,
Hmm.
right? But especially if you're not really good at foreign language, sometimes the college level I've seen in foreign language is pretty good, actually. Don't you think,
Yep.
Tony?
I, I
So get it
I
out of the
agree.
way. So
Let me drop one more nugget for everyone as
yes,
well too, right? So here's also why we recommend dual enrollment. Again, we like to work
right.
smart. Again, you guys can work hard. Parents who
Yep.
go to this training, like, you know what? I like to live life on hard mode. I want to do all this. I'm like, go for it. Be my guest. I and a lot of our students will be taking the easy way to college is the biggest one. The reason why is again, and it's something you may have released, and some parents, you guys can share personal anecdotes if this is true or not. Your kids might be scared to take certain AP classes in the future because that teacher is really hard. That teacher is notorious for never giving anyone an A or all these kind of scary stories about teachers, right? Which is true. Your experience in the class is going to be dictated a lot by the teacher, right? Because the class is the same. Every AP class
Right.
is taught literally exactly the same. It's the
Right.
teacher that makes the experience again.
Right.
This is a Tony talk, not a Coach Tony talk. I am usually the belief. I think a lot of our kids need that extra toughness in them, right? I think
Yeah.
we're living in the world where like it's great, you're good as well too. I remember
Yeah.
back in the day when something happened. My dad story look for a little small tangent. When I was in school, the reason why I was so like on top of my stuff, my dad would go to all my teachers. Okay, here's my number. If he ever acts up, call me as well too. So from that day, I was freaking out. In today's world, these a lot of the students, not saying all students, right? But a lot of these students that we talk to, probably not in our program, but like in the public that we talk to, they have no care, right? They're like, oh well, I gotta be, oh well, I got this. They don't realize the consequences of a lot of these things, right? So I'm like, push through it. But again, if possible, can we avoid the hard teacher? The answer is yes. When it comes to college classes, right? You'll see that when you look up a college class, I'm just take a little where I talked about dual enrollment up here. Just extend on that. On dual enrollment, right? When we do a dual enrollment classes, one class typically has a few teachers, proper term, professors to choose from. So you get to select your professor. Just like Coach Art mentioned, there's an in-person version of the class, there's an synchronous version online, and there's an asynchronous. With each of these options, there's like teachers you can pick from because they all
Mhm.
offer different types of experiences in that same exact class. On your transcript, it's all going to show up the same class and the grade. The teachers won't show up on the transcript, but it will show up the class and the grade. So to make our life a little easier, there's another website called ratemyprofessors.com, right? Ratemyprofessors.com. You go ahead and enter the school's name here. You enter the professor's name, and you get to see what past students have shared about this teacher, right? And what we tell our students, look for reviews that say this teacher is easy, then you take it because the class is easy. It's gonna minimize your time. If you can just go to a class where it's hard, then you're gonna spend a lot extra time in there. So that's why the little tricks to add on when it comes to dual enrollment. Well, again, you can't really pick your high school teachers or your AP, but you can pick your college professors. And again, that's
Yeah.
going to be one of the really cool leverages that you do
So,
have in there.
Tony, a couple things. I know Gosh, I want to do time check because we're at 11:30. We are way behind in our 10, 11,
I
12.
think we'll be
So,
fine. By the way,
but we're good.
are we good, y'all? Are you guys enjoying it so far? I think we can
Yes, is
probably
this
speed
good
up.
stuff for you
We can
guys?
probably speed up I think we're doing kind of a quick little overview. As well, there's the
Okay,
hearts,
good.
the thumbs up. All right,
I
we're
love it.
good.
Okay,
We're
cool.
good. Go ahead, Coach Hart.
Couple of things. So if you can go back to the classes here,
Let's do it.
couple of things that people need to be aware of. Okay, in the
Mm-hmm.
fall, remember and know when is the date that you have to change your classes or drop classes. Okay,
Mm.
really, really important. This is our stance on that. You really want to make sure is that, well, first of all, you don't want a W, meaning withdrawal, or any indication on your transcript that you changed a class. The reason why, and Tony was amazing and taught me this, when the readers of a college application is looking at this, you never want them to pause. You
Mm-hmm.
never want them to say, why did they do that? Okay. Because you want them to go through your application as fast as you can through the academics, through the activities, so they can get to your prompts, essays. But the problem here is that, yes, if there is a situation where you have to withdraw, change a class, whatever it is, it's not as so important your freshman year, I mean ninth grade, but it will get critical when you get to your junior year. Okay, because that's when you, in a sense, have to be taking, the hardest class and everything else. And if you drop, they're gonna like, well, why couldn't you take the rigor, or he or she couldn't take the rigor, that kind of thing, right? Okay, so some indications are, first of all, be aware of when the change in classes, or when you can change classes or so. Be aware of that. Be aware of that date. That's very, very important. Okay. Let's see. And then also in the fall is you want to start looking at potentially your community college classes of what you're going to take in the spring, if you're going to take spring classes.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very important, because just remember, community college classes, they get filled up pretty fast,
Exactly.
especially the more popular ones, the ones that everyone has to take, the
Mm-hmm.
maths, the the sometimes the English, sometimes the history, whatever those. Okay, those are the ones that can fill up pretty fast. So you want to look at that and be on top of it right away. I see this too many times where they tell, oh, we couldn't get in because you enrolled at the end of the enrollment period, and then you can't get in. Then now, they're all distraught because it messes up their schedule. So make sure you're aware of what those classes are. Work with our coaches who are part of our program, or, again, do some research. Make sure you know what those are community college classes are. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. And then also in the fall, register for those classes.
Mm.
Okay, for the spring. All right, that's another thing. Um, Tony, is there anything with respect to the SAT, ACT in your ninth grade?
It's a great question. Yeah. So let's talk about that at a high level for like 2 minutes, and then we'll
Yes.
dive into the exact answer, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the SAT and the ACT, we're living in an interesting world right now, right?
Yes.
We're interesting world for those who have been in Iraq the last few years, right? The year 2020, chaos happened, right? Because
Right.
chaos happened, all schools for 1 year went test blind because you could not literally take
Right.
any test, right? Or blind and optional. Some schools kept it optional as well, too, right?
Right.
So that's pretty much it. Blind means they won't even look at it. They won't even count it towards anything good or bad. And then optional means if you have it, they'll consider it. But if you don't have it, it's not going to hurt you either. One misconception, people think optional, if I say a bad score, they're going to penalize me. No, it's not the case. They're going to either help you or just neutral, right? Is the thing. So then, as the years have been playing out these last few years, we're starting to see like the first school, the very first school, MIT. The minute they could, they went back. The very first school to go back to test required was MIT, for the record, right? Boom, MIT requires it there. Then this past year, so this past school year, a bunch of the Ivies and top 20 colleges, right? All went back as well too. And over the last few months, more schools went back. Stanford recently just went back as well too. So I think in total we looked at there's like 40-ish schools right now. As of today, there's like 40-ish colleges that are test required. A lot of other schools though have brought back test optional. right? So when it comes to test optional, again, if you have a good score, you submit it. If you don't have a good score, again, not gonna hurt you if you don't submit it there. Okay. And as that, and there's still a bunch of colleges that are still staying test blind, or the more politically correct term, test free, right? Means you do not share your test scores because they won't play a difference. So just share some historical context, right? Is that because pretty much people and the people who argue we should bring back the SAT, this and that, they say, oh, you're just letting in anyone now, is the thing, right? Is the thing as well too. But like one of the most biggest institutions that have stated they are test free, intend to stay test free for the foreseeable future, is the UC system, right? Schools like LA, schools like Berkeley, they have all stated that. They do data analysis. A lot of the data that you see online, people crunch data all the time. I think Coach Art, you shared that was a 1% difference or something.
Yeah, so let me give you one.
Go ahead,
So
go ahead, go ahead.
in our conference, this was again with all the schools there. This is why it's a very big controversial issue with respect to test optional versus test required, because the schools are waiting for the first cohort of students, first full 4 years of students to make it through, to see what is the difference between students that didn't take the test and students that did take the test. But after 2 years, they looked at the grades in comparison to those who did take the test versus those who didn't take the test. And the difference between the quality of the students, they call the quality of students between the, is a 0.01%
Oof.
difference. 0.01.
0.01.
Which means is that those schools that are saying that the caliber of students is being impacted because they are not able to keep up with the rigor is a false, as of right now, after 2 years, is a false premise. So that's why a lot of schools now are thinking staying test optional or even going test blind. Okay, just because, and this will pan out in 2 years.
Correct.
And they really start making decisions. But yes, a lot of this, and frankly, well, you know what? I'm not going to get into the political side of this thing because there was a big, huge political controversy
For
of this,
sure.
of why
For sure.
why the schools are going test required now, and it really is, let's just say that there wasn't very good supporting evidence of why they're doing it, because of they were basically relying on saying, oh, the quality of students aren't good. That's not true.
Exactly.
The
So
students are amazing. So anyway, sorry about that.
exactly. No, 100%. So we have data to back up our thing. So here's our current stance. So here's the CAT stance on all this as well too, right? So when it comes to the SC ACT, option one, if you're applying to required schools, we have no choice, right? So required schools, no choice. You have to prepare for that exam there. Typically, a lot of our students will take their exams in junior year, spring. I'll say spring specifically, spring of junior year. Plan to take it twice. First time you always get nervous. Second time you tend to do the largest increase. Can you take it more? You can, but the increase is so marginal. It's not worth the extra prep. Again, we're going back to our big premise, right? We're big on working smart. Can you take this test forever? Go for it. People take it 5, 6, 7 times. It's a waste of, we think it's a waste of time, waste of money, because your first increase will be big, but it'll be tiny. You're up by 10 points, up by 10 points. It's not going to be a huge difference. There's other areas that are more important to do, right? So that's going to be pretty much the things there. There's no difference between the SC and the ACT.
Nope.
Right, is the same, right? There's no like schools require that lean toward this or that. No, they're both the same. However, students will have a test they tend to do better on. So one of our big recommendations for students who are like, again, you have to prep for it anyways, is take both practice tests, right? And then see which one you like more and which one you like more or do better in, right? Both tests are a little different. The AC has changed as well too. By the way, it's a fun little fact. They did revamp the ACT. They're taking out a few sections to make it more faster, more everything as well. The ST is now digital. That causes own slew of problems as well too. But they have that as well. So again, just do the one you like better in, and plan to take it twice, right? Is the biggest one. If you're doing an optional school, and which is where it gets a little fun and messy as well too, because optional, I believe, Coach Art, that's a bunch of colleges calling it different things. Like
Yeah,
every
no,
college.
there's a lot of terms. Oh my gosh, there are a lot of terms, now, and it really confuses
Hmm.
a lot of families with respect to don't get too wrapped up in the sense of the terms. Okay, there are only three modes here. It's one, the colleges are not accepting the
Hmm.
scores or not accepting. That's just the one mode. Let's just say, okay, I'm not going to give you all the terms, but then the second one is that you can provide it if you want to.
Correct.
That's the test optional. But then there's other ones. There's like test agnostic, test. There's all these different
Yeah.
terms.
That's
But don't get wrapped up into
flexible
that.
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then they have these parameters, but basically it lists the same thing. You're
Hmm.
either they're not accepting it, they'll accept it if you want to, or it is required. Those are the only three. There is no other different types of requirements that you have to meet. Okay, those are the only three. So, all right.
Exactly.
Let's see. I
And
know
and
it.
then
Go
just
ahead.
to wrap up this thought real
Yep.
fast as well too. So in terms of test optional, you do it if you're good at test, is what
Yes.
we've been currently telling our students to do. If you're not a good test taker and the schools are optional, there's other areas that you can shine more that will play a bigger role in it. But if you have a decent score, go for it. And the score, just to share where we want to aim for, we want to aim over the 50th percentile towards almost the 75th percentile of that school's average, right? Of that
Mhm.
school's average is kind of where we're seeing. Just a heads up, this is our recommendation based on pre 2020. So this is like the advice we told our students, because pre 2020, a lot of schools were required, right? So this is the advice we're keeping it until we learn more data. Even after this event, this training, we're still keeping it to, because we know that that's pretty much still the benchmark for a lot of these schools as well. Test option, again, if you able to score in that range, go for it. If not, don't stress out too much. If it's blind test free, don't even stress about it.
Yeah.
Don't even stress about it,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
That's that. So going back to the original question of like, what do you do ninth grade? As you can see, nothing. There's nothing to do now. A lot of parents are like, oh, I'm throwing my kid in an SAT prep class. I'm like, why? They're not going to do
Yeah.
it anytime soon, unless, again, here's the one caveat again, unless your child's a natural, really strong test taker.
Yep.
If I was to tell them right now, take the test and they'll score over 1500, yes, prep, take it, be done with it. It's kind of the mentality of it,
That's
right?
exactly what I would say, Tony.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've had a couple students where they were really good. And he actually took the exam in his freshman year and got a 1580. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, yes, but that is a exception, not the rule.
Exception for sure.
Remember what you need to do is you need to consider SAT looking first of all, there's two kind of points here. The PSAT, okay, which is a prepper to the SAT, but the PSAT,
Hmm.
the important date for that is your junior year, usually in October.
Correct.
That's when they officially take it because that's for consideration of National Merit Scholar. Okay?
Right.
That's the one thing. But for the SAT, you want to take it at the latest is your junior. You don't want to be taking it your senior. And the reason why is because it's too late.
Hmm.
With everything that you're doing, the application, everything else, you want to consider taking the SAT your junior year. Again, Coach Tony says it right, is that you don't want to take it, let's say, if you can, more than 2 times. So you want to prep. Now, with respect to junior year, yeah, you can figure that out in a sense of if you take it your spring of your junior year, fine, that's
Hmm.
okay. Even if
Yeah.
it goes into maybe the last test into the summer before your senior, that's fine too. But just remember, prepping for it, if you need a lot of time, if you take
Correct.
the prep course and you say, oh my gosh, I'm very low scores, then yeah, you might consider it sophomore year. But again,
Exactly.
so
Now, I think just to add caveat to the PSAT as well too. So if you take the PSAT and then 10th grade means nothing, by the way. People prep for
correct.
that, and I'm like, you get a perfect score, it means nothing.
It
Is
does
the thing,
nothing.
right? So treat it literally as a practice, and being efficient with your time. Treat it as a practice test. Take it, and
Right.
then when it comes to 11th grade, again, caveat. 10th grade, you take it, you do very well. So again, you got a perfect score. Then I will say, go take the ST right away because
Right.
you're done. Right. Then we take it
Exactly.
again, like Coach R's
Right.
example, they do it freshman year, they're good, take it. 10th grade PSC is good, take it. 11th grade, they
Yeah.
do it really good, take it. Or like if you're really good, study for the PSAT. Because if you're top 1%, I think 1%, 3%, whatever the number
Yep.
percentage is of your state, you get national merit potential full ride scholarship
Correct.
for you. That's
Full ride
why you want to do
scholarships.
it. And
Exactly.
then take it right away. the example for spring is, let's say you didn't do well on any of those stuff, that you need the time to prep, right? Typically 3-ish months is what we
Right.
see as well. So
Okay. Really quickly, Tony, for the spring, then we can
mhm,
wrap up the academics and we'll go through
love it.
activities real quick. So, first of all, in the spring, you want to make sure is a couple things. We are looking for summer community college classes. Okay. That's really
That's a good
important
one.
in
That's
the
a good one.
spring. Early spring, you got to look at that, work with our team or figure out if you what your summer is, because as I mentioned, they'll open it up sometime in the spring to start for registering, and then
Correct.
you don't want to miss that. Second thing as well is you want to make sure you prep for your next year, which is your sophomore year's high school classes,
Mm,
because they're going to ask you for that. So by the time you leave in June, you're going to be locked in, and then they look through that during the summertime, and then usually will get your indication of what class you're going to take in somewhere in the summer or maybe close to the fall, right? So
exactly.
that's another thing. So you need to talk to your counselors, you need to talk to us, figure out what that plan is for sophomore year. That's important. Okay. um let's see. Do, 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 do. We should in also is you should assess how you did in spring, how you did with respect to your classes, because
Mm,
if you've
that's
really
good.
started to, if it looks like math is a struggle, then let's get on it. Maybe you have a tutor. And I would say this is a good thing actually, and I didn't think about this too, Tony. In the summer before your freshman year,
Uh-huh.
if you know automatically that you're not good at math, you're going to struggle at math, you're going to do anything else, then you should set up with trying to find a tutor or trying to find some educational programs or everything is that will help you
Hmm.
augment that. Okay. Remember how I said plan the work and work the plan? If you it's too late if you are trying to find somebody when you're already having trouble. It's
Exactly.
too late, because now that means that you did not understand the foundational fundamentals of that class,
Hmm.
and you're there, because then now you have to actually go back, learn the fundamentals while the class is still moving forward.
Correct.
So that's where you really need to do. And so that's where at the end of or in the spring, you want to say, how did I do in my classes? Where are there classes that you didn't do well in? Okay, what do I need to do in the summertime to augment that so we're ready for sophomore year? So
Exactly.
that's that.
Love
Um,
it.
anything else, Tony? I guess because we can get to the activities real quick.
In terms of like, I was gonna throw an activity thing in this date thing as well too.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Is one thing for this is like this season as well too, like fall, late fall, meaning like November, December, time, summer programs
Well,
for
yeah,
next
that's what I was gonna.
year.
Yes, exactly. We'll
Yeah,
get to
for next year,
activities.
because now you'll start seeing a lot of like, we're
Exactly.
helping our kids right now inside a program with the YYGS. That's a really
Right.
big one. As well as due like this week, like in a few days as
Cosmos,
well
all
too,
those other
right?
ones.
So
Yeah.
some of our tell kids that's a bunch of programs for next year. So when you're like waiting for next year to prep for summer, usually it's a little too late, right? So a lot of these next year programs are starting now. That's why again, like Coach Art, you'll hear we have a few core themes, right? Plan the work the plan. If you planned everything, there's no need to stress out because we're
That's
good.
right.
We're ready for everything. The issue when people freak out and stress out is they don't know. They don't know ahead. The half of it is you don't know. Right? You don't know what you don't know is number one. But number two is you didn't prepare for that in time as well too. So I think it's not just on a program, but preparing for next year, right? A lot of it is like, hey, a lot of it is once we prepare, then we just run through it, right? Once you have it all set up, just go through the plan. You should be good to go.
So Tony, I will get so one thing here. Are we skipping the activities now? I think we are, right?
We
Isn't
good.
there an
That,
activity
that, that
section?
activity is pretty simple actually. I don't think it's a lot of
Yeah.
it's not as
Well,
complicated as the application.
for ninth grade, not so much. So let's just go. So summertime. Let's really quickly.
Yep,
Summertime again. Think about your interests and passions. Okay. And so what happens is that's going to lend yourself with respect to looking at clubs and other things when you get to your fall, right?
exactly.
Fall, look at your clubs. And remember this, if you can't find a club, then make a club.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay. I will tell you, it's a genius move, because a lot of the schools, the university will say, ooh, they founded a club. Now, remember,
Exactly.
don't make a club where it's just 1 hour a week you're meeting and you're just looking at each other in a room. Nope. Leadership is very, very important. You want to make sure that it is, that you're investing your time in it. So that's another thing. Now, I'm gonna drop some knowledge here with respect to
Oh, let's go, Coach Art.
networking.
Let's
Here we
go.
go. I'm gonna drop some networking, and I did this. I will tell you, and I'm just gonna be very proud. I don't know if they're on here. I don't think they are, but there's a little bit of a success story here. It is important that you learn how to network as soon as possible. And I'm going to give you a little bit of lesson to all the students that are on here. It's very networking takes time. It cannot be the case where if you want to try to find an internship, that right before the internship, you just start going to people and say, hey, can you give me an internship? That is not how it's going to work. That's not how the world works. It's sometimes is more of who you know versus what you know. Okay. So what I always say to the students is during your freshman year, or sophomore, junior, senior, if you want to have an internship, a research program where you're involved with an organization, where you want to work with a professor, whatever, you need to start in the fall, okay, of your freshman year of just reaching out to people. And how you do this is when you reach out to them, you don't say, hey, give me an internship. What you do is you ask them, can I interview you? Because I want to learn more about what you do. People love to talk about each other, about themselves. Tony said that. Remember when we
Exactly.
talked about what LinkedIn? That's another amazing resource is going to LinkedIn. You just look for it, or professors at the university, and you say, if you guys want to be a computer science engineer,
Mhm.
go out and find computer science engineers on LinkedIn or at the universities and interview them and just say, can you tell me what you did to get there? What are the most interesting things of your job? What are the things that you don't like? Blah, blah, blah. And what you do is you start building a list of these people. All right. And then what you do is periodically you're going to update them with where you are.
Mm.
Okay. You're going to say, hey, I just want to let you remember me. I'm coach. I'm Art. Hey, we talked about this. I'm doing this project of computer science, blah, 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 whatever it is, this is and that. And I just wanted to give you an update where I'm at. What you are doing now is you are building a relationship with these people from a networking perspective. Think
Mhm.
about if you can access a database, a list of people that you've been talking to. So now when you want to ask them for something, you're not a stranger. And on top of that,
Mm.
they will keep you in mind. They will keep you in mind when let's say at the place of their work or at the school or everything else, someone says, hey, you know what, we're starting up a high school program, do you know anybody that could blah blah blah? Guess what, they'll know automatically in their mind who they're going to recommend. Not only that, they might recommend you to other people because they know who you are, or they might actually bring you into their projects or so because they know you, because you keep up to date. So why I say this is because for activities, start your networking early. Start it. If you want an internship in the summer, then you need to start in the fall
Mm.
of networking with people, of talking with companies. And not to ask them for things, but to what you do is you just say, hey, I really like to interview you, find out, and then put it on your schedule. Now, so that's the one thing I would say is from activity standpoint is how you get internship. And Coach Victor is amazing. He's a guy, he
Correct.
did this. So if you guys are part of our program, watch that amazing video that he did on finding internships or anything else, because there's a lot of networking relationship pieces there. So that's one thing. Um, um, yes, the programs for activities, that's another thing. Okay. Um, personal projects.
Ooh, personal projects.
Okay, so personal projects is another activity that you can start now. You can start it in the fall and you can or start it in the summer. Personal projects, remember, are student initiated, student run. Okay. You can do it can be whatever. People say, what is a personal project? It's whatever. You start with something that you are passionate about, that you love to do, that you're interested in doing, that you want to discover, whatever it is. And then you have to do the who, what, where, when, and how, which is plan the work, and then work the plan, right? Which is execute on that. We have something in our program called the Personal Project Incubator, the PPI. We can help you with that. But
Well,
basically
Coach, are
what
we
it
actually
is,
open to the public?
oh, is it open to
Also,
public
so
now?
it's open to the
Oh,
public. So
awesome. Okay.
actually, yeah. So if you guys are
So
interested,
everybody here,
yeah,
personal project
yeah.
incubator.
Our cohort for this month is full, but we're opening up
There we go.
spots for
So
next month's.
register for it. We teach you how to do a personal project. Coach Tony is the one who actually, it's a self-paced course, teach
Mm-hmm.
you how to start a personal project, run it. And remember, a personal project is an amazing thing for the universities and colleges right now. They love personal projects.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because it's not necessarily about the result, it's about the journey that you took. It's about the who,
Yes.
what, where, when, and how of what you did. It's the struggles you went through and how you overcame them. It's the resources that you had to employ. All of those skills that you learn in a personal project is totally transferable to everything that you do at college and everything you do in life.
Exactly.
So, personal projects is another thing you can start. Okay. Um, uh, I guess internships, but there is, if you want, I've seen this a lot. Students do this is like is shadowing. You can do
Mm-hmm.
shadowing as
That's a good
well.
one. That's a good one.
Shadowing is good in the sense of learning, and this is really good for freshmen and sophomore, and I say
Mm-hmm.
is because there is no the expectation is well, universities like when you do stuff, but still, if you're early on your freshman sophomore year, shadowing is great because then you get to really know what these people do, and it will allow you it'll help you to say, do I really want to be a doctor, or do I really want to go
Mm-hmm.
biology, do I really want to be an
Mm-hmm.
engineer? This will help you accelerate you understanding and and figuring out your major, your interest, whatever that is. Okay.
Exactly.
Let me see.
No, that,
Activities
that, that,
wise,
I
sorry,
think
go ahead.
that's a really good grade for 9th and 10th. To chime on a few things, just to tap on your thoughts so far. Personal project is great. Incubators there. Coach Art mentioned self-paced. It is self-paced, but the cool thing about we want the students to have the flexibility to go at their own schedule, but get feedback, right? The thing about self-paced that we realize like might not be super great is that some students need that like accountability, that feedback. So I give live feedback to students on a weekly basis, like, hey, here's where you're at, here's what you need to be working on next is the biggest thing. So
Yeah.
our students really love that. And when it comes to internship, one thing that Coach Victor brought up to me, because I think he's a really awesome training buddy. He's one of our
Yeah.
advisors, by the way.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested in a 15-minute advising call with our team, Coach Vic, you might get placed with Coach Victor, and you can definitely pick his brain on this as well too. But one of the not cool, but here's real talking. Again, you'll see that we're really big on not just college success, but life success as well too. Everyone talks about getting an internship. Everyone talks about doing
Yeah.
research.
Exactly.
Do you have the skills? Is the
Yeah.
thing. The question is, why would they pick you over pay someone else? Think
Right.
about that. It's a very silly question. Like, wait, I'm free. Yes, but it costs money to help free, right? Yes, you are free, but you're now eating up the employer's time to teach you if you don't know the stuff,
Right.
right? And then that's the cost no one thinks about. People think, oh, I'm saving them money because they don't have to pay me. Yes, if you know the skills. But if
Right.
you don't know the skills in real talk, as a student, why would they pick you in high school? You haven't even done the basic college level
Exactly.
courses in that field over a PhD student. And PhD students are free too, right? So as part of their thing, right? Why would they pick you over them? That's why when you look at research, a lot of students, it's just you wrote an essay. But real talk, this is the real talk now, right? A lot of
Mhm.
it is you just wrote an essay, and you got some professor to sign off on it. That's pretty much all you did. But is that really research? Now, some of them, yes, by the way, some of our students, holy moly, they are doing crazy things. I'm like, wow, this is really good. But for a lot of us, we like the idea of it. And then the big takeaway is you just want to do stuff that looks good in college, right? Going back to the thing, ranking, and this is the area you want to do things look good. Coach Art mentioned something that I want to highlight as well too, right here. It's not about the result, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
That's how you want to treat your activities. Any internships
Correct.
are awesome. You don't have to have it though. Research
That's right.
programs are super cool. You don't have to do that too. Summer programs are awesome and help you explore stuff. You don't need that. There's nothing that you need. People always talk, Coach Tony, what's the list of things my child needs to do? They need to volunteer. I'm like, not really. No one has a requirement of you need to volunteer. Some kids volunteer, right? Some kids don't. They still do fine either way. The biggest thing is schools want to learn about the student, right?
Mhm.
If I'm a student and I'm super like competitive and I compete at a national level, I probably don't have time for a lot of the other stuff, but I'm really invested in my sport. As a result, that I started a thing and I helped out younger kids because I I'm an older brother myself. I want to help those like my younger siblings, right? Boom, there's that angle for that student. Maybe it's other student. Maybe you are research. Maybe you are very geeking out about stuff and you explore the sciences. You shadow. You got to get hands on. You again. You can't do the chemical stuffs, but you're there and you're helping learn stuff. You're scribing for them as well too. That's other opportunity. So the big thing for we're giving you a bunch of ideas, but don't feel you have to have
No.
one thing. I think that if again one thing, if you forget everything we talk about, the things aren't that the exact what's right. Again, not the what. There's a we wrote it here somewhere earlier. The what is not as important, right? It's always the who's of the people you know. It's the whys. Did you do that thing? It's the how did that make you who you are. The what is usually, by the way, not. And this is a teaser. A lot of our seniors who are working with us in our college apps, they know that we're grilling them. We're like,
Mhm.
no, this is all what stuff. Ignore that. Focus on the why. Focus on the how. That's the key thing we're looking for.
And Coach Tony, I want to make sure that we talk about in activities wise, because then I know we can. My gosh, it's
Yes.
already noon, and we're almost we only have
Holy
1 hour
moly.
left.
Time is running by. You
Okay,
guys, if we still have everyone here. I don't think anyone left.
no,
Holy
nobody left. So
moly.
so
That's
I want to
crazy.
I want to make sure everybody understands this. This is another thing that I think in the spring you have to reconsider. This is a really good idea. Um, Consider and apply an interview for leadership positions
Mm,
in the spring. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason why. Okay. I say this so many times to my students, and I'll ask them, well, are you in a leadership role? No. I go, what? And they'll say, well, they didn't give it to me. And I'm like, well, they're in life, no one's going to give it to you unless you ask for it. Okay. So
exactly.
I'm gonna throw some
But
knowledge there,
that's a
throw
good
down some
one.
knowledge. Okay. So the one thing here is that I learned this early on, is that if you don't, first of all, if you don't put it out there, if you don't tell people you want it, if you don't ask the questions on how to get it, you're not gonna get it. So especially if you want in your freshman year, maybe it's a little early, but still, if there's opportunities for leadership, but you're doing it because you love to do it, that you're passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
you're interested, then go for it, because it's not about quantity, it's about quality of your activity. I would rather you have 3 or 4 activities that you are so invested in that you have a lot of commitment, meaning hours, and that you are a leader in that, than to have 20 that you're really doing nothing with. Okay. Now, the one thing here is talk to the director, talk to the people, talk to your coach, talk to whatever, and say, hey, what do I need to do to be a leader? What do
Mm-hmm.
I need to do to make it to this point? And then they should be able to give you what those parameters are, what those requirements are. Hey, if let's say you want to be the captain of the baseball team, whatever, ask your coach, how do I become the
Mm-hmm.
captain of the team?
Exactly.
And he'll tell you, these are the things you need to do. I hate reinventing the wheel. That's the one thing I can't stand it. I hate, and hopefully everyone understands what that term means, reinventing the wheel. Like, we all know what a wheel is, and you're not where no one's going to try to recreate a wheel, because we know what it looks like already.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what Tony said before. Go and find out from other people how they did it, and then recreate it, replicate it. Tell them and have them give you what the guidelines are of being a leader, and then go for it and apply for it and build that. Learn from it, and so that by the time you're a junior or senior, you're either in a leadership position or in position of a leadership position, and you've learned how to be a leader, and you've learned qualities to be a leader. And that is huge when we talk about activities. Remember, there's 2 components: leadership and commitment. Commitment is the number of hours. You want to maximize those
Mm-hmm.
hours. And leadership is you want to be able to be in leadership positions, roles, or activities. And it doesn't mean you necessarily have to have a title. Okay, titles are good, but you don't necessarily have the title, but you just have to exhibit and show that you're doing leadership, right? Okay, so that's another thing, is going for leadership. And let's see, anything else? I think for I
Can you
think
touch
that
on
we're good.
hours with fast, Coach Art? I think
What's that?
that's the last piece of activities. The hours. Well, can you define that like tangibly for me?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Hours. Remember, everybody, hours means everything that you are doing for that activity. A lot of people they're like, oh, I only did 2 hours. I'm like, really? And all the things you only did 2 hours, did you count not just the actual activity, but did you count all the preparation? Did you talk? So, for example, if you are traveling as a part of sports, okay, part of sports, if you are traveling to the game, that's part of it. That's part of the hours, okay? Remember, is that we always say and we dictate if you want to make it to the UCs and CSUs, you have to have 20 to 25 plus hours per week. If you want to make it to the top 20, you typically 25 to 30, Ivy Leagues 30 plus. But remember, Tony and I talked about this. Students typically have about 40 unaccounted hours per week available to use towards activities. This is when you less you're sleeping, eating, going to class, studying, a little bit of me time, and all those things. About 40 hours of unallocated time for the entire of the week, Monday through Sunday, or Sunday through Saturday, whatever. Okay. So when the schools are looking at this, they're going to see, are you filling the bucket? How are you filling that bucket with the hours? Okay, that 40 hours. Because if you're listing out your activities and you're not filling the bucket sufficiently, they're going to assume you're watching Netflix or you're scrolling through social media or doing other things. Okay. So that's really what the reason why it is important that you have consistency over time. It's consistency over time. You are doing this activity not because you want to make it look good in your application, but you're doing it because you love the activity that you're doing. And you're showing that through the hours that you're having and then the leadership. So I don't know, hopefully that we were talking about
That was
something.
amazing. I think the reason why the activity is pretty a lot easier than the academics because that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of things here
No,
because there's no.
it's up
If
to
I
you.
say do sports and your kid can't even dribble a basketball, they can't even hit the ground with the
That makes sense.
basketball, right? They shouldn't do sports as well because that's not who they are. The big metric we're looking at is the hours, right? It's aim for the hours. How you break the hours is up to you. And then our big thing I think we talked about it is aim with your passions. Do what you like. What do you enjoy to do? Right? That's here are all a bunch of random ideas for you to think about. But what do you like to do? And that's what you want to fill up the activities. Again, activity academics is more like prescribed of like this boom boom. Activities is this is up to you. And this, by the way, this is the key here. This is what makes you stand out. When a lot of families are like, how does my kid stand out? I'm like, activities because everyone can take the same classes nowadays, right? Your school, you're taking classes. We're telling you all do dual enrollment, online AP. In theory, you guys are going to copy what we tell you guys and you people do it. So you look the same academically now. So, but just being good in school doesn't mean you're going to stand out. Where you stand out is in addition to being good, in addition to having the rigor, in addition to having the grades. This student also did this. They also did this. They also cared about this. They were leadership here. Boom, boom, boom. That
And
is where
remember,
you want to spend. Go ahead, Coach Art.
and remember, everyone, there are three really main components. It's academics, activities, and application. In the order of importance, or the order of, yeah, in the order of importance, academics is actually the least important out of the three. Activities is more important, and then the application is the most important. Too many people dwell on academics, which
Yep,
you should get good grades,
of
right?
course.
You should take rigor. But what is going to differentiate you is one, get good grades, but then activities is the variable there because it can be anything. And the more you do, the less you do, the whatever you do is important because that's what differentiates you. And if you take care of academics and activities, then your application is, again, 90% of the way there because you have done that. But it's those essays, right, that you're going to go. So the order of importance, don't dwell on so much of the academics where you lose sight of your activities. Too many people, and what I cringe sometimes is when I say, well, why didn't you do any activities? They're like, well, because I was concentrating on my classes to make sure I'm doing good in my
Mm,
classes. I go, guess what? The readers are looking at students that have both strong academics and
yep,
activities.
exactly.
There's no more excuse to say I'm just doing well in classes. Maybe that was the way it was before. It's
Hmm.
not that way any longer.
Nope.
It is important that you have activities, but again, not just activities that you just do whatever. It's activities that are relevant to you.
Mm,
Activities that are relevant to you, that make you who you are, that make you unique. That is the key to this, because then when you do that, when you go to your essays, now you can speak to a position of yourself.
That's a great one-liner for actually activities
Okay.
as well too. I think that to close this thought up and we can kind of I'm gonna call it audible fast. I think we could probably speed through 10, 11,
Yes.
12 and then
Yes.
do Q&A at the end, just like a massive
Yep.
Q&A session
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
too.
So
So
let's
sorry,
go ahead.
one thing to add on main part. Also, so this what Coach Art line is so big, and so I don't think a lot of guys haven't realized it how like good this line is because everyone's doing things from the perspective of looking good for college, right? I'm doing because I'm looking
Right.
good for college. Like, why are you doing research? Like, I always poke. I was like, hey, why are you doing research? And no one, by the way, can give me a
Oh,
good answer for that. Why are you doing internships?
true.
No one can really give me a good answer for that as well too. And summer programs, again, no one's giving me a good answer for that as well too, right? So ideally, like if you told me I want to do internship, you should be telling me I want hands-on experience. I've done the skills, I have the skill, but I want to apply it to something. If
Right.
you're doing research, like, hey, I've been reading so many academic papers. This keeps me up at night that I want to like explore more, and I've done something similar. And when it comes to summer programs, it's like, hey, I just want the experience of that school because that school, I want to experience how the being there will look like and feel like this and that. Those are more the answers we're looking kind of for the reason why you want to do it. But if you don't have a reason, you'd have a reason. I want to look good for college. And then when there are people, again, when Coach Art mentioned, there's people who are doing activities that are good to, for example, one example I shared with a parent yesterday was, let's say you want to do research on eyes, like the cataracts in your eyes for something random because you
Mhm.
thought it would look good for college, right? You did it. And then your reason essentially is it looks good for college. There's no other big reason why you're doing it. Let's say a second student is doing also eye research, also in cataracts, but the reason why is their family comes from a history of cataract disease. And then their family hasn't figured out why they have it. They just know it's hereditary, this and that. There's not a lot of research right now. This student has read every paper so far on this specific one, can't figure it out. This student's local is next to a person, and they've been talking to professors, like Coach I mentioned networking, talking to professors, just sharing ideas with them. Hey, I think about this, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
What do you think about this? Or they've been sharing articles back and forth. And then the professor brought them into their research because this student now knows a lot about this specific thing. That's again how you get the research positions, right? You know a lot, and they actually made a small discovery about this thing as well, too. Not just the
Right.
solution, but which story sounds stronger to the reader. You get me? That's the big thing. So again, Coach Art, I think that's the best one-liner I think we have. I think it's relevant to you, makes you who you are, and makes you unique. That's the big key here. All right. Wow. That was good. That was good. Well, 3 hours flew by. Let's go ahead and run through. I think here's what we do. We'll kind of run through because I think we pretty much talked about everything. So we just have to plug in the holes for the other three grades really quick. Then we'll open up for some Q&A. So again, if you have questions, keep dropping the Q&A and we'll have our team kind of Q&A answers. We'll do a speed route at the very
Tony, I think for 10th grade, really, the
end.
biggest overall theme for 10th grade is that you had a year under your belt now.
Mm-hmm.
You're now this is the time, and let's just really quickly on
Yeah,
academics.
go
This
for it.
is time where you're going to start looking at APs if you can, or rigor courses. Okay. So in the fall, normally what I've seen students is they're taking AP World, they're taking some type of, again, they're usually schools are saying you can take about two APs. I haven't actually seen a lot of schools that say just take whatever APs you want. Usually you take
Exactly.
about one or two APs.
Mm-hmm.
So and then they only give you a certain what you can take. So
Correct.
so that's where the fall is. In the summer of 10th grade, again, what you're wanting to do is, as we mentioned, is you want to prep for sophomore year. If there's any schools that are any classes that you are really not doing well in, then you should be prepping for that, especially if you're starting to go into the pre-calculus, let's say the maths or the sciences or so. You want to prep for that. And sophomore year, you will be taking let's see here. So sophomore year, now you normally from a science perspective, you're probably going to be taking chemistry. From again social sciences, you're probably taking like something like world history, something like that. From a math perspective, you're either at geometry or hopefully Calc 3. I'm sorry, gosh, Math 3
Uh,
integrate. Gosh, calculus. So that's from math. We talk about social sciences. Oh, then your foreign language, again, you're probably doing your foreign language too, but if you can, do it at the community college that we talked about. You're doing some type of elective. That's where you can probably choose an elective that may be within your pathway. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing. Um, let's see, what else did I miss a category here?
Just take English. The advice is take English every year.
Taking, oh yeah, well, you have to take English, but
Pretty much
then
that's a
we're
thing,
not going
but
to be doing any advanced English or anything like that. I mean, sorry, you can do honors English. Oh, one thing.
go ahead,
So
Coach.
everybody, in the eyes of the reader, when you take a regular class, that is neutral value. Remember, in the eyes of the reader of the application, the college application, it's neutral value when you take regular classes. So when you take honors classes is more value. It's a higher value than neutral. When you take rigored classes, which is again APs, IBs, community college class, everything else, that's maximum value.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you have a chance, you should try to take the honors version or the rigored version of a class.
Yes.
Okay. When are you a chance? Because think about it. When they're comparing students, if you have all rigored courses, there's no doubt in their mind that you have secured the academics in a good way. I mean, there's no
Mm-hmm.
doubt. And imagine if you did rigor courses and then on top of that you're layering honors courses. That's like icing on the cake. Okay. The problem is when you are starting to convert and then they start looking at it and you're like, ooh, why you're taking regular courses when we know the most competitive student in high school had the opportunity to take honors or rigor courses. Why? Then that's when they start comparing you to students, they're going to look at that from an academic standpoint. Okay. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why try to take either honors and rigor. We know that that's obvious, but I'm just telling you again in the eyes of the reader. Now, so I think from a perspective, anything, Tony, from a perspective of the academics that you see here in 10th grade, that's real. I don't see anything else.
No,
10th
I
grade's kind of
think
a
these
in
are pretty
between, right?
straightforward. The one thing to keep in mind, and we kind of teased it earlier, the PSAT is in October,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Don't study is
yes.
our big thing. Can you study? You can, but you're not, I won't say wasting time because nothing's a waste of time, but it's
Right,
not gonna be, there's no payoff. There's no payoff
right,
exactly to it
right.
to do it
And
there.
same thing is for applies with respect to ninth grade. Remember, summer in the summer of your 10th grade, you want to look at if you're going to take fall community college classes. If
Mm,
you're going to, if I'm, we don't dictate that you have to take fall, spring community college classes. I don't dictate that necessarily unless you want to. I've seen some students have, but if you do, you need to look at that in summer. And then same thing for fall and spring. If you
correct.
want to take spring, then you got to look at it in fall. If you're taking spring, then if you want to take summer, you got to look for that. So same thing
Exactly.
applies as ninth grade. And then as Coach Tony mentioned, the PSAT. If you take the PSAT and you score 1400 plus or more, you should consider SAT.
Yes, I agree.
You should consider the SAT. That's a big thing. Okay. Um, let's skip down. Anything else there? I think that
No,
we're good.
I think it's pretty much good in terms of academics.
Activities wise,
Yes, go
this
ahead, Coach.
is where now you got to start thinking about and considering in your head uh what you're going to start trying to commit to. Okay, now you don't always have to commit, like, as I mentioned, all the way up until your senior, but
Mhm.
you want to start having an idea of what you want to do in your junior and senior year, the commitment from a leadership standpoint and the hours you're going to contribute to those. Because the schools are going to start looking to see, have you, again, are you doing things that you love or passionate about, and have you committed to it? That's the key thing, is commitment. All right. So your sophomore year, because of your freshman year and you did all the right things, you were discovering, you're exploring and doing all that. You're doing that during the summertime.
Mhm.
Okay, you're looking into these things. Now you're starting to figure out things. Maybe you do a little bit more or try out a club. Maybe you create a new club because this is where the exploration is now getting more defined. Okay, so that's the key thing in activities wise. Okay,
Love
so
it.
you
I think the one thing to keep in mind again, it's not too late, right? A lot of people are like, oh,
it's
I'm 10th
not
grade, it's too late. No, just apply
never
what we
too
said
late.
in like basically copy paste what we said at activities in 9th grade, apply in 10th grade, right? Another good
Right.
analogy to think about going off of the commitment idea, an analogy that tell students that usually works is the fire hose, right? So when you first start your activities, I say turn off full blast, meaning anything that you think you like, even think, right? You like, try it. Try it for a meeting, do one thing, try it with a little bit. You're gonna find out when you try stuff, half of it you're gonna hate, half of it you're gonna like. The
Mhm.
ones that you hate, you can drop. And the one like Coach Martin, you're gonna start figuring out which one do I want to commit to. That's the idea of once you have it full blast on the fire hose, you start to slow it down, right? You start to
Right.
turn it down to make a steady stream. Because by the time we get to 11th and that 12th grade, it should feel like a steady stream of activities that you're doing. Again,
Right.
we again the analogy, if you want to put the complete analogy is depending what schools you want to go to, right? With the Ivies, you want to keep it to a level of like a big steady stream and then little less competitive schools, a little smaller steady stream. But the idea is still a steady stream of stuff that's controllable. It's not a lot of crazy like water spouts
Mhm.
everywhere. It's very controlled because you know how to control that based on you.
Remember, it's consistency over time. That's the big thing. Consistent. When the schools see that you have been doing something that is very consistent, you put your commitment to the hours and everything else, then they see that it's truly something that you love to do. Now, mind you, if yes, your inspiration is because you're just doing it for school, then it is what it is. But I'm saying is that they can really will see that once you are talking about in your prompts. Another thing, so same thing goes with internships, research pro, whatever
Mm,
all that is, still networking, you're still doing that. November is a key time. November, remember we talked about for the summer programs, you still want to do that, right? In November. Something I did not touch upon, Coach Tony, and I forgot to do this, and you know me, I'm the scholarship guy. Scholarships.
scholarships. Oh
Hey,
my.
look, I don't think people realize I've said this enough. I've done my scholarship video, so if you haven't seen that, go ahead and look at it. You can start as young as fourth grade
Oof.
to look for scholarships. Now, these are private scholarships, mind you, not federal scholarships. You're going to look at federal aid and everything else with Coach David and other people when we're talking your senior year or so. But right now, you can literally apply for scholarships, and if you get them, then they will save it for you when you go to college. But what I like to do is to say, make it a habit. Look and go find my video, watch it. You'll see how to search for them, but then make it a habit and start building your database. Okay. Now, again, I know this is not like a huge priority, but it can be a priority if people have a really
Mhm.
hard time being able to subsidize the college
Exactly.
finances, then this has to be a priority because if you think about it, if I've seen it many times, I've done it ourselves. If you can find scholarships to completely or 75%, 50, whatever it is, cover your expenses in college, tuition, everything else, see how much more that opens up your college list. Okay. Because now you can say, yeah, maybe this school, IVs, whatever, is a possibility or whatever, because we can afford it. Right. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. So I forgot to do that. Scholarships. We talked about activities. I think we're good with 10th grade, are we?
No, that thing's good. 10th
Okay.
grade is almost like a continuation of ninth grade as well, too. All right.
Okay. 11th grade.
11th
Ooh,
grade,
starting to
important
get
year.
into summertime again. Summertime
Summertime.
for 11th grade. So this is really again you're a rising junior.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, remember SATs.
Mm.
So summertime, this is where if you're gonna, yeah, especially if you want to go for it, you need to score well on your SATs to make it to
Correct.
IB. If that's in your case, so you really do need to study SAT, ACTs over the summer to get you prepped. Also, this will get you prepped for your PSAT because you're going to take your
Mm-hmm.
PSAT in October, usually time frame in the fall. So it is a double dip because again, National Merit Scholar is great if you can make it, just
Yep.
because of course scholarships, but also if you make it on a National Merit Scholar, you'll get on a list on a lot of schools. You will all of a sudden start seeing a flood of schools that want you to be part of their school
Exactly.
because they love to declare that they have merit scholars. They love it. Look at how many National Merit Scholars we have coming to our school. They
Exactly.
love it. Okay, so you get on a list. So that's where SAT is very important to summer. This is now, remember, you are going into now probably the most difficult from an academic standpoint is your junior year. And the reason why it's very important as well, this is the last set of grades that the universities are going to see as part of your application. So you really have to do well. So in the summertime before, you really do need, if you are going to struggle with some of these, because the expectation is you want to take rigorous courses
Hmm.
in your junior year. If you know what those courses are, you need to prep and study and whatever it is, education, tutoring, whatever it is that you need to do. That's very, very important because you need to do well. This is one of the areas that you need, because remember, we always see two things in academics: grade trend and rigor, right?
Hmm.
Grade trends, your grades have to be going up from freshman to senior year. And so that's why it's so vital your senior or your junior year and your first semester of your senior year, you have to show well. You just have to. Your grades have to do well. Because again, technically they're the hardest courses. And if you do well in the hardest courses, then you've proven your academics.
Love
So
it. I think one thing I would add, we kind of
yes,
touched
please.
on, but we didn't fully flesh out, and some things like this is some behind the scenes stuff,
Yeah,
right? So I know last year we said, last year, 10th grade, we said, hey, take 1 or 2 APs, right? What number is it actually, right? What number do we
yeah,
actually want to aim for? So some of the things that we tell our students is that if the number matters based on your school, because you're competing against really your classmates, right? So when it comes
that's right.
some behind the scenes knowledge as a reader, right? You're competing against two groups of people, right? Against two groups of people realistically, right? One is your high school, right? And that's probably the biggest comparison because again, in theory, everyone in school has the same amount of opportunities. How you leverage it is a little different, right? But in theory, you have the same amount of opportunities. And the second one is your region or your state. If you're applying to an in-state institution, it's your region. If you're applying to a private school or a school out of state, it's your state is where you want to compare yourself against, right? High school is the most important thing because that's part of the ease because you don't know. I bet your school across the street, school a city away, a county away, it's a little different than how it is. So think about high school. What we tend to recommend students is that if you're aiming for a top school, right? Aiming for a UC top school, what you want to match the top rigor of the top student in your school because the readers do know this number. They do know
Right.
like who's doing the most as well too, right? So you want to match if the top student's taking 1 AP sophomore year, I'm gonna take 1 AP sophomore year. If they're doing 3 junior year, I'm gonna do 3 junior year as well. Do you want to match again? Of course, or more is better. I'm going minimum plus, right? Minimum plus, do more is cool too. If you're aiming for Ivies and like the top ultra top 20 as well too, we usually say minimum +1 match the top rigor of the top student in your school. Meaning if the student sophomore year is doing 1 AP, how do we crank out 2? Right? If they're doing 3, how do I crank out 3 or even more? I must do 1 plus, right? And this is where the strategy of dual enrollment kicks in and a lot easier for you guys. So let's say someone's taking 3 literal AP classes. In theory, you could take 2 AP classes, but college class in the fall, college class in the spring, because the equivalence, now you have 4 years of AP equivalent classes versus the top kids 3. And you did it in probably same quote unquote same amount of work and time because it's still literally 3 year long courses, right? That's one of like, and this is why we recommend dual enrollment because again, you see how it all fits. The framework all matches up nicely because that's what we're trying to aim for, right? So again, the more the better, of course, is the
And
bigger thing. But it's
kind of
kind of
give you, yeah, and
go ahead.
Tony, I just kind of give a little bit. And then this is just purely from my experience.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Coach Art.
I'm not saying that this is, that we you should be doing this. But what I've seen, because I know from a parent perspective, they're going to say, well, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? That's why I've been calling it out. Normally, I've seen one rigor course during freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
typically. I've seen 2 rigor courses sophomore year. Again, when I say rigor, it's within the high school itself.
Mm-hmm.
Within the high school, you can add. That's why augmenting it with community college this
Correct.
summer and everything else, you can augment that. What I have seen in junior year lately is I've seen 4. Okay, 3 or
Mm-hmm.
4. Okay,
Yep.
you see how it's ramping up, 3 or 4. I have seen 5, but typically 3 or 4. And then your senior year, yeah, 4 or 5, right? But remember, you see how it's progressively going up. And again, because by the time you get to your first semester of your senior year is usually the time that's like that what they're looking at. Your
Hmm.
spring of your senior year is not is kind of irrelevant just because they've already given you acceptance, as long as you don't
Yes.
drop classes
Exactly.
and you don't
Exactly.
fail classes, or don't do that. I'm going to tell you, don't do that, because if you do, they can remove your acceptance for you when they see
Yep.
your final transcript.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
this is why I give the, so student, if you look at this, this is typical what I've seen, and then you augment with due enrollments. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I want to talk to the parents here.
Oh, let's
I
go,
want to
Coach
talk to
Art.
the parents here, because I've seen this a lot, and students these days are really under a lot of pressure. It is, yes, absolutely important with respect to mental health that the students are able to manage this type. We dictate this kind of top rigor or so, because we want them to make it into these schools. This is what it takes to make it in these schools. But you have to manage this and monitor this all the time and see how they do. It is no use to, of course, tell them take 4 APs, but then and they're failing all that, and then they're getting that's that. Yes, there is a balance between that, but we kind of say this under kind of funny, but it's not funny. What I'm saying is that when they ask us, well, is it better to take a regular course and get an A versus taking an AP course and get a B? Well, our response to that is take the AP course and get an A. But if you're going to look at this, if you get A's and B's are good grades. If you're getting a B in a rigored course, it is still better than getting an A in a regular course. It is. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why is because you're showing that you can take on the course level work. Okay. But mental health is important. And we don't want students, yes, absolutely, to have a nervous breakdown because of taking this rigor. But the one thing that Tony has mentioned, and this is what we really have to make sure you consider, the level at which we advise you of taking these rigor courses is the same level that they will be going into in college. Tony talked about this. If you want to make it to an Ivy League and you're taking 5 AP courses in senior year and you're in all and the activity and everything else, guess what? That is not going to stop when you go to Harvard. It's actually going to be the same level or worse. Not say worse, or more. Okay. So you really have to consider that the amount of work that you're doing now is going to be the amount of work you're doing when you get into college. Okay. Not to say that the under 100 college are not going to be rigorous, because it can be. It depends upon what you do. But there's an expectation level at these schools that they dictate. Okay. So I want to make sure that people understand is that we are dictating what we're telling today about rigor and everything else, is because if you don't plan this your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, when your student gets to your senior, if they say all of a sudden, oh, I want to go to Harvard now, but
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do the work to create a portfolio, a body of work that will allow you to do that, then it's too late. So that's the reason why we dictate this. But I want to make sure that, yes, mental health, physical health, all that is important. Okay. Now, um,
I think
we're,
I want to chime in. I'll speak from a student's point of view,
yes,
or not student view, talking to the students now. So that I was talking
yes,
to the
talk to the
parents as well
students.
too, talking to the students as well too. I think here's where again we've been stressing this a few times. I've said it a few times. I'm gonna just try to drive the point home because I think I don't know. It's a trend I've noticed, and Coach and I have been doing this industry for a very long time
Yes.
now, and it's a new trend that I'm seeing post 2020. Because I don't know what happened 2020. I know what happened 2020, but something
Yeah.
triggered something a little bit. And a lot of students are having very interesting realizations about life, is the thing. I
Yeah.
don't think people know what life really looks like or life really is, right?
Right.
People are thinking, oh, I'm going to work really hard and that's it. I don't want to take this hard class. I don't want to do this, but I do want to get here though. And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things that as a coach, it's a very fine line that we always have to talk. Because
Mhm.
again, we don't want to, yes, I want you to be ambitious. I want you to do this, but there's an aspect of realism and optimism that we have to make sure we balance correctly, right? The optimistic side of our coaches, we want our kids to get, again, the better they do, the better we get to brag, right? So it's a huge
Right.
ego thing as well, too. We want them to do well. At the same time, if we know the student's gonna be miserable in that experience, why are we gonna put the student through that situation is the biggest thing. I think a lot of students, again, they have the aspirations to do all these really crazy things. I want to go to these top schools. I want to make like $100,000 a year and all stuff as well too, right? Not many people actually do that. I think I look up right now, like 15% of people make over 100,000, right? 15%. That's a tiny percent of a big chunk as well too. So not most people would not make $100,000 is the biggest thing too, right? So again, a lot of us are skewed because we're in a bubble. We're in a bubble. A lot of our families are in very competitive regions as well too. That it's like the expectation, the norm. But the big thing you'll hear us talk about is we care about fit. We want to make sure, is this going to be a good fit for you, right? And the level of ambition. Again, do you need to do this? No. You don't have to do this. This is the expectation of the schools there. But why tell families, would you rather want your student to make it through, find a school they're happy at? Or can you get in? Yes, it's a game. I think college admissions is a fun game. We know how to play the game. We know how to get kids in. The issue is, let's say they get in. Parents, would you be happy a year, not even a year, a few weeks in, your student calls you and says, Mom, I can't do it. I want to go home. And I'm not lying. If you go on forums on Facebook, I'm in a bunch of them. You hear those stories right now in this month because it's been a month in school. It's true. It's not, I'm not making it up, right? These are what I'm seeing on other groups, right? Number two, how happy would you be your kid got into a top school, a year in, they get kicked out. They drop out because they can't keep up with the rigor because they are assuming, hey, I just gotta work really hard in high school, then I can relax. That's not how life is. When you look in the real world, right? Not everyone works at Google. Not everyone works at these top companies. Why? Because they only attract the best. Not all of us, again, this is the real talk now, right? Not all of us are going to be destined to be in those areas. Again, we want like to. We're going to set the path to make sure we can get there, give you the framework to get there. But at the end of the day, the big thing for me is the self-awareness, right? Students are self-aware. Again, the student, I thought I shared the story earlier, he woke up at 3 in the morning to take classes in Asia because he's so driven. I know he's going to do big things. I have no doubt he's going to be the one of the people who are going to lead the world one day, right? There's a reason why a lot of the leaders of the world, they work really crazy hours, right? They don't sleep. You hear stories of like Elon, right? Of like sleeping at the fact that he's working all day long. Not all of us like that. Some of us, I just want to work 5 o'clock, I go home and I watch Netflix, which is not wrong at all either, right? I think the biggest thing, the big kind of takeaway for students is understand what you want. Because if you do want to go to the Ivies, let's do it. As a coach, let's make that happen for you. But keep in mind, this is what you need. And if you keep not doing the things you need, it's not going to pay off no matter how good we are at the stuff. And clearly our kids get in. So I know we are decently good at what we do. The issue is it takes two to tango is the biggest one, right? The students need to, I want to get there. I'm putting the work. And you see that our students get in. Our students do really awesome. Little Sporters, we're actually interviewing two of our coaches, Coach Michelle and Coach Sarah, how they both got to MIT as well, to literally one of the hardest schools to get into in the entire nation. They both got in as well too. So we're gonna hear their story, and you'll see. Again, it's no accident that they got in. They didn't just whatever, I got in. They're built a little different, right? And I think that's the big key for our students. And yes, I just say we never want to break our students. We never say, hey, do this, blah blah. It's that line of realism and optimism.
So Tony, I know we're time checked. It's almost 12:40. Oh my
Let's go.
gosh,
Let's
the
go.
time's gone. But I'm curious is at a high level and from 11th and we're actually because we haven't even hit 11th yet, but 11th grade, the key thing, a couple of things for the summer in 11th. Okay, so let's talk about this. If we're gonna go for important deadlines,
Yes, important deadlines.
so well, so first of all, important deadlines with respect to your calendars. Oh, actually, one thing I didn't even think about in 10th grade. Make sure everybody that you set up your SAT dates and you register for it because the SATs get booked
Really
like
fast.
really
Yeah.
fast, like super fast. And I feel so bad for families that don't do it ahead of time. This is the what do you call it? One of the suggestions or tips. Register for it because you can always cancel.
Exactly.
but you can't register if it's not available. So look at a strategic time, register for it, and then if you can't do it, just cancel. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to necessarily say that you should do this, but I have seen people who have registered for more than two just to kind of get strategically, and then you can cancel because then that gives you some play, right? So you could do that. That's one tip. Now, 11th grade. So I would do that actually in your 10th grade. Again, you were in the summertime, or maybe you do that in the spring of your 10th grade, just for the 11th grade going into it. You're taking your PSAT in October of your 11th grade. That's one
Mhm.
thing. You're taking the SAT. You're probably going to take the SAT either in the fall or the early spring, and then you're going to possibly do maybe late spring or middle or beginning of the summer before your 12th grade,
Mhm.
if that's the latest. I'm saying latest.
Correct.
Remember, we've said do it sooner as you can if you're that. Academics wise, so let's talk about it now from a 11th grade. This is where the rubber meets the road from a rigor perspective.
Mhm.
So you should be, from a math perspective, we outlined this already. You should be at least, the minimum is pre-calc. If not, then you are at already calc 1,
Right.
right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's that. Science wise, you're taking sciences like AP, uh, AP Chem, AP Bio, AP Physics, or something like that, right?
Yep.
English wise, if you're doing again the rigored route, you should be taking AP Language
Exactly.
and Composition. If you're doing history, typically the juniors are taking A Push. I'm
Yep.
going to give you the real, like the exact, and they're taking A Push, right? Science, English, math. If you're doing your language, yes, you could be, again, languages. Hopefully, you've finished, you realize and you finished it in community college, or you're at language 3, um, or you might even be at AP language. I don't know,
Yep.
AP foreign language. You might. Okay. Um, this area now, juniors usually get more availability of electives, so you can
Mhm.
get some good electives in there. Maybe you're taking, or your pathways, right? So you're taking that, and then community college work. Again, the summer before that, you should be. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about this, in the summertime, we usually recommend take two summer community college classes. This starts in your 9th grade summer. I'm sorry,
Yep.
summer, and then junior, and then So the summer after 9th, summer after 10th, summer after 11th. Take
Exactly.
two community college classes or UC Scouter or whatever it is, just so that this is how you're going to up your rigor and not affect
Exactly.
necessarily in the fall and the spring. That's why you don't necessarily have to take community colleges during the fall and the spring. You can compensate that in the summer. All right.
Yep.
Same thing in the spring. This is the pathways of, same thing with academics. If we do, with respect to activity, or sorry, anything else there, Tony?
No, I think it's very straightforward now because we kind of went through all the
We
four.
went through all that.
That's all. Yeah,
Activities wise, you should be at leadership positions
I
now.
agree. I think that's the biggest difference, right?
That is the
Everything
huge.
applies, right? Copy paste again, but the biggest thing, huge, is leadership this year.
You should be at a, if you're on a sports team, you're either co-captain, assistant captain, whatever it is, or you're doing some leadership. If you're in a club, you should be, if you have titles, VP, president, secretary, whatever it is, something where you have, you're in management, if you want to call it, of your team, right? You should be having full blown with a personal project, right? From an activities perspective, again, the same thing applies for the fall. You should be looking at prepping for um, internships, research programs, or
Mhm.
again, and the like. And then also the summer programs. This is the last time you're going to be able to
Yep.
go for summer programs, so you need to
Yep.
do this
Yep.
for that summer, right? So that's huge. Um, the this is Remember the commitment hours. It's a matter of, this is junior year is so tough because you should have the highest commitment hours in your
Mhm.
activities, and you should have the hardest classes. Okay. But this is why a lot of the schools really look at junior year, because this is going to be more of an indication of how you're going to perform at the college level, because you are at the high, you have now been oriented. You no
Hmm.
longer can use the excuse that I don't know about high school, because you've been there for 2 years.
Yep.
You are taking the hardest classes, you're having the highest amount of hours in activities, and you have leadership. So you are under the most stress your junior year, and maybe your freshman first semester of your senior year. This is a true indication how are you going to do. And on top of that, they're getting your grades.
Hmm.
So if you did amazing with your grades, you took the hardest classes, and you had the most hours and activities, and you had leadership, then you've done your job. Okay? That's the 11th grade. And
That's
then
it.
on top of that, if you did well on your SATs, you did PSATs, right? Um, Big thing also is, remember, in your summer before, I mean, summer before you start your junior year, make sure that you get whatever the necessary educational support that you need to go through your junior year. Tutoring, educational classes, extra, whatever it is, but make sure you get support. It is the most stressful,
Hmm.
guarantee you. One thing that I always tell the students, and I hate to say this, but embrace it, accept it. It's
Hmm.
what's going to happen. Don't deny it. Don't think that, oh, I'm going to just, it's not. It is something that this is where plan the work and work the plan is the most important. Because if you don't prepare, it's going to be a difficult time for you for that year. And this is where I see so many students break down, are,
Hmm.
and on top of that, they're not getting a lot of sleep necessarily. They're not eating well. They're not taking care of themselves. Well, again, talking from a parent's perspective, right?
Exactly.
Because they're just so active and they're young. People, you all are young. And so you think you have the energy of the world and you keep going, and then then you crash. But or you get sick or something happens, right? So anyway, junior year, everybody knows it, but the key thing here from academics wise is, you saw what we saw is that academics, and then activities wise. Now, um, leadership, biggest thing for activities. And another thing in this, and so for the spring, late spring, um, you need to start looking at colleges, just the
Hmm.
colleges, just thinking about it. Now, I'm only say this, and maybe Tony is, but the only reason why is because our program, start looking at working on your applications June, July.
Hmm.
And in order to do that and have an idea of that, you have to start thinking about solidifying your college list. We don't ask
Okay.
to solidify your college list until the fall of your senior year, but it's good to start thinking about it. Okay, have an idea about it, because then you have to start pulling your essays. Okay, for those schools. All right,
Love it.
and on top of that, and I didn't actually get to talk about this, because I know we may not have a chance. Is I've seen where there are some schools now. You can actually, in your summer, the summer before your senior year, you can start putting the information in, and there's a thing called direct admissions.
Hmm.
Woohoo!
What is direct admissions, Coach Art?
I'm going to tell you what direct admissions are. This is a cool. I think, are we going to 12th grade now? I think maybe.
We're blowing that line a little bit. So
Okay,
go ahead, go
I'm
ahead,
going
go
to
ahead.
tell everybody about direct admissions. This is
Yeah,
a
go ahead,
new
go
thing.
ahead.
This is a trend. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. Schools are trying to now gain more students, of course, because remember, these universities are a business, right? So what they're doing now is there's a couple of avenues for the common application, which is the main application for majority of the schools are out there. If you put if you put in the information and you submit it, the schools will actually receive that information. And even if you didn't apply to those schools, or sorry, if you apply to those schools, and you meet certain criteria, they give you automatic admission right there and then. You will receive the actual admission acceptance letter from those schools. Now, I'll tell you, is the top 20, top 50? doing this? No, they're not.
Hmm.
No, they're not. But it's a matter of now, this does kind of put in a case where if you apply early, if you or you just put I'm saying is if you put your not because of due dates, but if you just apply and put your information in, you might get acceptances from schools already that you didn't even that you don't necessarily have to know about just because it's that's why it's called direct admission.
Hmm.
Okay, now there's also another type of direct admissions now where there are some sites where you can put your information in and anonymously this the schools will look at your information, and if you meet their criteria they'll give you acceptance as well. So it's not the case where you actually submitted and wanted to go for that school. Anonymously they'll look at you, and if you meet your criteria they'll give you an acceptance and they'll send you an acceptance. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at. It's a new thing. It's a new trend out there. I think more schools are going to do it for those that are like less
Hmm.
in the top 50, top 20,
Correct.
just because they're trying to get students. And, it's interesting because you might find a school that you didn't think of
Hmm.
that meets your criteria, but then they throw you a lot of money and
Exactly.
it's got a good program. It might be good. Okay. So,
Awesome.
12th grade,
One
are we at 12th?
what we are one quick thing I'll add before, and I think Coach Art has earned the moniker of the college app dad as well too.
Exactly.
So I'll let him share when it comes to. And by the way, it looks like our moderator has let us know that we have 10 minutes left in our workshop. Holy, it's been 4 hours, Coach Art. Isn't that
I
crazy?
can't believe it.
Dude, we were like, how do we fill 4 hours? And we're like,
I
dude,
know.
we're not even done yet. We're not
And
even done.
we're not even close to it. We have
I
so much
know. So
more.
here's what I'm gonna recommend. Let's try to get to one with just the game plan for 12th grade. I think
Yeah.
we quite can't go into details like how to write stuff, but more like deadlines, timelines.
Yeah.
'Cause I think the academic activity we pretty much locked in for the most part, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I'll add before you jump in there is I think another big one, 11th grade, at the end of 11th grade, start looking for letters of recommendation. Start
Oh
looking
gosh, yes, I'm
for
sorry about that. Yes,
people,
that's
no
right.
worries, no
Yeah.
people for letters recommendations, right? You want to ask, not get there, but ask. Because again, it's most likely your 11th grade, because 12th grade, you're just going to start to learn with the new teachers. They might not
Yes.
know you in a 1 or 2 months.
That's right.
So it's
That's right.
probably going to be an 11th grade teacher that you're going to ask for letters of rec. Ask them now. Just ask them, hey, I had a great time this year. I would love for you to be one of my letters of rec. Can I give you more efficient in the fall? Like you can use
Yeah.
prepping them for the fall, but asking them now, think about the teacher who's getting this rec. Like, wow, you are so proactive. They're gonna want you to win, right? That's the big thing. So end of the year, looking for letters of rec. But Coach Art, you're gonna run through
Woo!
and
Let's
just
go run through real
rattle
quick.
through
Okay.
deadlines for senior
I'm just
year.
gonna go lead deadlines. Remember, October 1st, November 1st, December 1st. October 1st is your early action, early decision applications. These are our internal deadlines, but they're good deadlines, okay? For those who are think about this. Early action, early decision. What I mean by completion of your application, that means that you have normally because the UCs don't have early action or decision, you need to have your 650 personal statement done. Okay, this is October 1st, sorry. You need to have your supplemental essays done. Okay, those are the extra essays that the particular schools. You need to have your activities list done. You need to have your letters of recommendation completed. Okay, or ready. Okay, so those are the key things that you need to have finished by October 1st so that you can start submitting, because normally the first set of due dates are October 15th, November 1st, November 15th for early action. Now, November 1st is UCs and CSUs or any of the early actions, right? But still, we say November 1st, finish the UC, CSU internal deadlines. You're going to have your 4 PIQs done. You're going to have your activities list done. Okay. Yeah, they changed it to December 2nd. December 1st now is everybody else. And typically, if you've done your work October 1st with your supplements and all the 650s, this should be an easy thing because you've already done it. Okay.